You are listening to the Mountainside Podcast, and joining us in studio is Daniel Diamond Hands Amesbury. Daniel is one of the last true enforcers in hockey. He's one of the most exciting guys to watch in professional hockey right now. He also fights off the ice in Rough and Rowdy and is an Ice Wars champion. Awesome guy to hang out with. We had a blast today recording this episode, and I hope that you enjoy our conversation. What's up, dog?
What's going on? Thank you for having me.
Yeah, hell yeah. It's an honor to have you on, man. You've made hockey fun for me to watch again, man. Like, I've been watching a bunch of your highlights because I knew you were coming in this week, and the mic'd ups are like fucking awesome that they got on YouTube. I don't know who's putting those out, but shout out. That's fucking pretty cool. And I loved that 90s to into the early 2000s of hockey when enforcers were enforcing, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like you're the only guy I've seen kind of bring that back, right? And it's kind of put you on this pedestal in pro hockey in the jungle as the guy to watch, man. Like,
yeah, that's kind of how I've always played. And like you said, like for me, it was more so the early 2000s, like the 90s and stuff. But the early 2000s, I always look up to as like the toughest era of hockey as far as like the fighting and like how much the fighting developed and the grappling side and this and that. And obviously there's tons of guys like Parks, Scott
fucking
Parker.
Savage, dude.
Yeah, savages. And I try and play, I try and lean into that character and I try and lean into that style of hockey as much as I can because to be truly honest, it's so effective. It's so effective to just have the other team with the bug in the back of their head, like, oh, we got to play this guy tonight.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Like, it's an issue. And I've been on that side of it. When I was in junior, I used to always have to worry about the guy on the other team. And it's hard to even just make a pass when you're worried about some guy trucking you or who knows what he's going to do.
Chirping
who knows what he's going to do. You don't know where he is. You're just worried about him. And yeah, so I lean into it and it seems to have been pretty effective for me in my comeback. So it's been fun.
Hell yeah. So I guess because this is the first time we've hung out, man, it feels like we've hung out because we have so many mutual friends, especially with the Parkers, man.
Yes,
what an awesome family. And shout out to them for setting us up, right? Teeing this up. So Francesca, DJ, Scott, Bo, everybody. Their family
too.
Their family is just extended outside of the shout out to Kamosi too. He's actually who set me up with the Parkers. So now it's just like we have this little tribe or clique or whatever you want to call it of just badass people that are doing incredible stuff, whether they're retired or not,
Yeah, I think like the Parkers do a great job at just building like an authentic tribe. Like they always say the tribe, this is our tribe. And everybody that I've met through them and like me coming to Colorado this summer, it was a lot to do with the Parkers. They're like, hey, come out here and train. And everybody they've introduced me to has been so helpful. And like, it just feels like family. So it's cool to, meet more people like coming here and sitting with you. It's like, I know like you're in the tribe. So I'm like, I already feel like I've sat with you 1,000 times. So it's super fun.
I know that's kind of the unspoken like bond. Like it truly is like a tribe, right? Yeah. Like, and just long lost brothers, man. It's like anybody that they've introduced me to. Yeah. Sometimes you got to get a little violent with this thing. Like hold it down here. There you go.
Okay. There we go.
Yeah.
That's better.
You know how to get violent. Let's break some shit, dog. But yeah, no, they're just truly like anybody that they've introduced me to, and Kamosi both, man. Anytime those guys hit me up and they're like, hey, what do you think about this guy coming on? I'm like, dude, you don't even have to ask me. Just fucking send him. If you're vouching for him, like, I trust you, And like, that's been a hard thing with me with this podcast is kind of vetting people.
Yeah.
So to have friends like that are kind of like already vetted and like, I just don't want to have somebody on that is going to sit here and lie to me and be a piece of shit. You know what I mean?
Not open up and, not willing to like, be authentic.
100%.
I think on a podcast or anything like this, I think, for us too, on our podcast, the most important thing is just being authentic and because people know when you're not authentic. I think that's like a thing. Like when you listen to somebody and they're not being honest or they're just like, just pumping stories up. I just feel like it's just it doesn't feel right. There's something that feels off about it.
Yeah. I kind of want the guys that I have to like pry the shit out of a little bit. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, and with a lot of my former like military friends, or like for Bo example, like, to get anything out of that guy, he's such a badass. Like he doesn't want to talk about himself, so like, that's a bit of a juggle in the podcast game too. But yeah, man, I love that family, man, and just everything that they encompass, what they surround themselves with, how they treat people. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, I never stepped onto the ice. I was never a pro hockey player or a pro fighter or anything like that. And you're just viewed as an equal. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of guys that have played at a professional level and stuff sometimes, and I'm sure you've seen this, there's a bit of a chip on the shoulder, with some of them. And it seems like anybody that they surround themselves with are just genuine people.
Yeah, I think I've talked about it with Parks and stuff too. It's like, I think the role like Parks did, like the same kind of role that I play, it's kind of like a selfless role. Like some people might not know or really understand, but people that played with guys that are fighting, it's like you're fighting for your teammate. So it's like they kind of want to surround themselves with those kind of people. And I think they've done a great job at everybody around them is just like such team guys, and it's so nice.
Even the guys that they fought, like
exactly.
him and Eric Goddard hanging out together, totally. You know what I mean? And those dudes went to fucking war, bro. Like,
some of my best relationships through the game of hockey are guys that I've fought, and
really?
whether that's somebody I talk to every day or somebody hey, I'm in Orlando and I call them and I'm next thing you know, I'm taking my family out for dinner with them. Billy Sears is a great example. I did that. I was at Disney World with my family and I just hit him up and I fought this guy a handful of times and we've always talked and caught up, but it wasn't, it's not like we're talking every day, but hey, come have dinner with my family. And we sit down, hugs and kisses, and had a great time. And next time I'm down there, I'll call him again. And I have a lot of really great relationships through people that I've fought, which may seem so strange to you.
It's really not strange though, because I go back to the playground mentality. Those kids that I first fought on the playground or, in elementary school or whatever, next thing you know, we're best buds, in middle school and fucking running around causing trouble or whatever, So it's like, I can kind of understand it where I think throwing down with somebody, and a lot of the UFC fighters that I've had in, or Kamosi himself, has said there's a certain sort of bond or intimacy that happens when you punch another man in the face and he punches you back, because you know what he's worth. And you know what I mean? Not in a sense of physical strength, but this is a dude that's willing to go to battle with somebody and is not going to roll over. Right?
Yeah, I've had this is an interesting part of fighting too. It's number one, it creates this mutual respect. Generally if you're going to bang it out with some guy, but then on the other side of it is you're exposing yourself to this person completely. You're literally opening your heart and showing them exactly what's there. And I think it's just as a fighter, you understand that. The vulnerability side and somebody willing to do that with you, it does create some sort of bond or some sort of connection. And I've had people talk about just how powerful that is to me in the past when I was younger and I never thought about it. I'm like, wow, it is a very it's almost like a spiritual dance. You're opening everything you have inside of you up to this other person and battling it out. And it just creates this almost, respect that you just have after. Whether, sometimes you'll fight a guy I'd say there's very few people that I fought that I'm just want to kill him again. I want to do it again. There's a couple guys you have those kind of those fights with, but for the most part, you're just, even if it started that way and you're running into each other and you hate the guy and you're like, oh, I can't wait to fight this guy, and you fight him, you're kind of like, all right, man. Yeah, I respect you now. You know, it kind of just, not that it lets your guard down, but it's almost just kind of all right, okay.
Yeah, it's kind of a lost art that I think culture is just totally, dumbed down to on the law side of stuff now, right?
Yes, totally.
I mean, even you can get verbal assault charges now for God forbid you call somebody the wrong thing in the middle of a heated conversation or your spouse, which I think is good, right? Nobody needs domestic violence. Of course. We all agree that is not fucking good, right? Of course, yeah. But I think that there's something lost in just knowing it kind of keeps you in check too, right? Because you got all these keyboard warriors and shit now, but I guarantee you they're not knocking on your door.
No,
going to say the same exact thing to you. So I think that's a little bit of that lost guard, I think sports is the only place that we still kind of have it. And even in that, they're trying to take it away, right?
Yeah.
How much have the rules changed in hockey in the jungle, kind of, because that was kind of the appeal to the jungle, right? Like, especially in the early days of it, kind of that minor pro hockey, was you were going for the fights, right? And a hockey game broke out, I think, as DJ says, or something like that.
It's true, though. Like, especially in the minors, right? Like, it's always been tougher and, like, a little greasier in the minors, and you'll see a little bit more going down. But just in general, and, like, in sports in general, it's just society's getting a little softer. And I think fan bases also are getting, like, there's a lot of people that are like, whoa, that's a little too much, or they don't really understand what's really happening. Or why it's happening, but there is like a certain level of like self-policing that happens with the fighting in the game, and you see the difference between college hockey and pro hockey, and way more guys getting slashed, way more guys getting dirtied, and it's like, if you bury a guy from behind in college hockey, well, now I got to bury one of your guys from behind. That's kind of how it gets sorted out, rather than you bury, my guy from behind, and I'm on the ice, we just fight it out, and now it's like, okay, and you're in the box yelling at each other, and the guy's like, all right, well, I hit him from behind, sorry, and you're like, all right, well, you fought me, all right, we're good, all right, let's go and play hockey.
Eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth,
it's right? Done. Whereas like it just kind of keeps escalating without that kind of like, fighting is, as strange as it may sound to some people, it almost de-escalates a situation, like it's like you can kind of just bang it out, that respect happens, then you're like, all right, we're done, let's move on.
Well, I love that documentary, Ice Guardians. I've watched it like multiple times, right? Yes. Especially because Parks plays such a huge, is one of the stars in that film, and there's so many just fucking lethal dudes that are on that film, right? From
all walks of life too, which is so cool. You got like Ivy League guys that became tough guys. You got, like guys that went to Harvard or Princeton. I think, so it's pretty cool to see the difference in guys that have been fighting their whole way, guys that went to college, and then we're like, hey, I got to fight to move up, and they all end up running into each other, and they all respect each other. There might be a couple guys that probably I'm sure there's a couple guys that might have hung on to something throughout that, but at the end of the day, we're all keeping each other employed. That's one thing I always say. It's one thing I'll always say is if it wasn't for these guys, I wouldn't have a job. So, that's a whole other aspect.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I think that documentary does a really good point, or makes a really good point of like, okay, they're trying to eliminate hockey or fighting in hockey, so it appears to be a safer sport, but it's really made it more dangerous because guys are more willing to do some dirty shit on the ice, right? Some tripping, some slashing, some stuff with a stick, like there's nobody that's going to pay the man, right?
Yeah, it's just basically like, oh, well, I'll just sit in the box for 5 minutes, or I'll go sit in the penalty box. There's no like real consequence. There's no fear that's like, hey, if I really hurt this guy with an elbow to the head or something, I don't have to worry about Parks coming out next shift. And maybe I sit in the box for 2 minutes, but I'm not worried about Parks coming out and taking my head off next shift. Whereas like that thought will prevent that dirty hit from happening in the first place. But then Parks doesn't even have to fight. Yeah. And nobody's getting elbowed in the head.
Well, imagine him standing outside of your team bus, getting off at Pepsi Center or Ball Arena, whatever you call it, and Park standing out there saying he's going to Uzi the bus. You know what I mean?
Oh my God.
And I think he was, serious, but it wasn't only on the ice, right?
Yeah,
it's not when just the cameras are on, right? Yeah. Do you adopt some of those tactics too?
I'll lean into a little bit of the warm up stuff. Like I'll yell at a guy and I'll just let guys know, like, hey, I'm here. If you're going after my best player on the ice, then it is what it is. You're going after my NHL contracted guy, I'm the next guy on the ice, Yeah. And it's a little bit of psychological warfare, honestly, and it works, and it almost, it's not even to create violence, it's almost to prevent it. If I'm in warm-ups and I tell a guy, you go after one of my goal scorers, I'm going to take your fucking head off tonight. and it is what it is.
Right.
And then guess what? Nobody's getting their head taken off, and nobody's hitting my goal scorer. And we just play hockey. And it works, a lot of the time. So I think you just kind of learn over the years of how to kind of tote the line, and you don't want to cross it. Like my biggest thing is too, like, the game is changing a little bit. You got to respect these guys. There's, in my league, there's guys that are on NHL deals. I can't go, to give respect to the game of hockey, I can't go after a guy that's on an NHL deal on the other team. You know, like I won't do that. Like it's kind of makes me look bad in a sense, right? But I'll make sure to let, you know, if they got a tough guy on the other team, I'll let him know, hey, you better keep your guys in line, because if not, I'm coming for you. You know,
right.
So it's, you kind of find ways to do it. And like I said, the game does change a little bit where, you know, there's still a code, there's still a mutual respect, and you still got to respect the game. But you also still want to like protect your guys and make sure everybody knows that, you know, at the end of the day, I'm going to be the one coming through the door first, not these guys.
Yeah. It's, you know, like you said, keeping your own team in check too. And I think, Derek, why don't you pull up, look up Daniel Amesbury, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Mic'd up on like YouTube or something. It's awesome because it's like you getting your team pumped up, a little bit of this warm up stuff. Like I urge anybody to go and watch it, but I would like to watch a little bit of it here, dude. I'm such a fan of this. So do you see like this? I mean, because this is happening in the jungle and at the pro level already, do you see the NHL maybe starting to adopt this back a little bit? Because I feel like they've kind of understood, like when it comes to viewership and stuff like that. Like I don't watch as much hockey.
No, and I think honestly, like my thing is this: like this is who I am. Like I am being authentic. This is what I want to do. I see the value in playing this way, and I'm not trying to hurt anybody out there. I'm just trying to keep the game honest, right? And I do think that the pendulum swing is on. Like it's coming back. Like you can see it happening. There's guys like Matt Rempe in New York. He's doing a great job. He's fought everybody in the league. Just a young kid coming up. So the pendulum's on. I think it is shifting back, and I think the NHL, though they will see the ratings go up. I'm sure they'll see the New York Rangers is getting way more views than they were. So, yeah,
this is awesome. Who puts these together?
So this was one of our guys in Danbury, True Crew. He does lots of hockey content.
Can you give us a little volume?
And
thanks, buddy.
yeah, so like, you know, he shows the whole thing, like us having fun warming up, and it's a pretty cool like insight for the fans to kind of get to see what it's like to prepare for a game and whatnot.
Hell yeah. Yeah, this is the part I was talking about. You warming up your own team, putting them on the boards a little bit.
Yo, Campbell. I'm not going to do that if I don't get slashed. You know what I mean? I didn't slash. You ran into me. You got caught. That's fine.
So I buried him pretty bad the game before because he went after, he hacked me, and so I was just letting him know, hey, I'm not going to bury you like that if you don't hack me.
Yeah.
That's what it is. So it was respectful conversation. He said, hey, I didn't mean to, whatever. And this is my buddy, one of my good buddies.
Let's go, boys.
My parents are in town, so I said I'd fight him game 1 for my dad, and I'll take the night off on game 2 for my mom.
Hell yeah.
Here it is. Let's go, James. Let's go, Nate.
That's awesome, man. It looks like so much fun.
Yeah, I mean it is a blast. It's kind of my second kick at the can. I retired from pro hockey in 2014. I played for the Denver Cutthroats. That was like my first minor pro. That was my third minor pro season, and I kind of was just in it, you know. Like I think a lot of people went through it, young men especially. I was at 24 at the time, and I was done. You know, I wasn't focused, and I went home, and I was done for 9 years, and I came out of
Really, it was that big of a gap?
Yeah, 9
Holy
years.
shit.
So I came out of retirement. This would have been my first season back, which was 2 full seasons ago. And I just said, hey man, I'm gonna take another kick at the can and see what I can really do with this. And obviously the social media is another side of it as well. But yeah, so I took 9 years off.
In between that, is that when Rough and Rowdy and like Ice Wars and that sort of stuff was going on? Or
No,
was
that was the kind of a part of the comeback. So
okay.
So originally what happened was Ice Wars was kind of the reason that was really like the thing that kind of just shook me up enough to kind of get me out of where I was. Like just the training camp for Ice Wars 1, I was just I got into such a crazy vibration, and it getting up every morning at 5 a.m, working out, doing my 3 a days every day. Like I just got into this mode, and I felt so good. And then obviously I won Ice Wars. I won the tournament, and it just created this thing inside of me. And then it also at the same time created opportunity for me. I had all of a sudden teams are calling me, and I'm kind of starting to think like, I could come out of retirement right now. Like, this is crazy. And it was a lot of decision making that had to be made. But essentially what happened was AJ Galante, he's essentially my partner on everything I do now. He's like a brother to me. And he was the one that put on Ice Wars. And he basically was like, hey man, why don't you come to Danbury? That's this team here. And he used to own a team in Danbury, and come to Danbury, you can train at the boxing gym. We'll kind of build your platform, all these ideas that we had, but you can come out of retirement and play hockey. And at first I was like, oh yeah, okay. Like, I thought about it. I'm like, there's no way, like, not enough money. Like, it'd be such a big sacrifice. And then I just thought about it more and more. And I'm like, man, like what am I doing? Like, why wouldn't I? Like, this is life. This is like, I want to live. Like, I was just, so I just said, screw it, let's go. And I ended up moving to Danbury, coming out of retirement. And, I'm in my 30s. I think my first year back I was 32. And, I'm turning 34.
How old are you now?
I'm born in 1990, so I'm turning 34.
You age well, man. You look
Thank
like
you.
you're like 26, dog.
I wish. Yeah, you can tell that to the teams that want to sign me. I'm 26,
yeah,
right?
26.
But yeah.
I'm in my prime.
Yeah, there you go. But, like, I honestly feel like just taking those 9 years off too is like, I didn't put the miles on me hockey-wise.
That's a great point, right? Because I think there's so much that happens, especially when you're playing at this level. I mean, the amount of games that you guys play is insane.
Yes.
So the amount of fights that you get in, if you want to compare it to like a UFC fighter or a boxing, somebody that's coming up in boxing or something, like, they might have 8 fights a year max, man.
Yeah.
Like, that's at the very like entry level, but you guys are fighting like once a week or something.
My first pro season, I think I had 43 fights in 39 games or something like that, or 40. I had over 40 fights in 39 games. And like, I was doing that, I put up some crazy PIMs in penalty minutes for my first, the up until my retirement, I was putting up numbers for fights. So having that time off, I think, was good. And it's like, I always say, like, I'm not your average 33-year-old right now because I didn't put a ton of miles on me. Yeah, granted, I was still doing, like, I still played a little box lacrosse and stuff, indoor lacrosse, Canadian lacrosse. Still did a little bit of that and stuff, but it wasn't like I was playing hockey all those years. So I feel pretty good. Like, I'm my back, like, everything's fine. I don't have any real average aches after when you play some games, you get a little sore, but I don't have anything really hounding me. Like, I feel pretty good. And from a lot of the other guys I see that are playing at my age, I feel like I'm in pretty good shape. So
that's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Man.
So it's cool because I feel like I got the experience of being a little bit older. I'm a little bit wiser than I was.
There's some wisdom that comes with age, right? Like, there's no joke, especially like once you get out of like at about 30, you really start becoming a man, I think, and not a fucking jackass.
Yes, I agree.
Say it that way, especially
for myself, for sure.
Yeah, for your average, dude that's into dude stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, most of you guys are fucking jackasses all the way up until about 28, 29,
yes.
somewhere in there.
I
know
can
I
agree.
was like, I was a fucking completely different human.
Yes,
you know what I mean. So
I feel like I just think a little bit differently, and like I said, I feel like the Ice Wars tournament was a big turning point for me because I put the work in, and then I got the reward, and I was like, I basically just learned. I'm like, everything in life, like whether it's this, like what you're doing here, the podcast or my podcast, or just like anything in life, it's like, to me, I believe anybody can do anything. Anybody can do anything. There's not nobody can come up to me and be like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna be like, you can't do that. I'll never. After like going through what I've been through, I don't function that way. I say, that's amazing. All you need to do it is just match it with the work. That's it.
Yeah.
And have the faith that it's going to happen with the work. And I've proved to myself that's how it works.
Just put the reps in,
just
right?
put the work in and have the faith and the belief. Don't have the doubt. As long as there's no doubt and you have it matched with the work, anybody can do anything. And I say that all the time to the young kids. I say that to everybody. I've said it to kids that I played with at every level. And I believe it.
It's great advice, man, because I think a lot of people kind of sit back or sit on the bench and they wait for the time to be right. Like, oh, I need to be in better shape, or I don't have the right people lined up. I don't have the right team around me, or I don't have enough money, or I don't have, it's just like you kind of will start giving yourself excuses.
Yes.
And I've even had to catch myself with this. Like,
Of course.
yesterday I didn't have some shit in the budget, but we still did it. You know what I mean? I was like, this was my vision. You know what I mean? So like, it worked out. And so yeah, I think it's just like, just don't sit back. Just figure out a way to do it. There's a way around it. And everything doesn't have to be perfect. Like sometimes it's just like walking through that curtain or walking onto the ice or walking, into on stage, whatever you're trying to pursue. It's just like kind of just going for it, man.
Just
and
got to
like,
swing.
If you fail, it's a learning lesson, right?
Failure is the greatest gift that this world gives us, because it's a gift of growth. So it's like, if you're not failing, like I feel like there's a lot of people that they don't fail, but they also like, they just kind of go through the motions, and they do whatever they have, they just live their life, the way they've been taught, and they don't really ever go for something, and there's no failing. So it's like, oh, I never failed. It's like, well, what did you go for? Like, what did you really go for? Because like for me, that's where I'm at now. Like I did do that. I went through the motions during my retirement, and I was just trying to figure out what I wanted to do, where I wanted to go. And then finally I got to a point, I'm like, no, I'm going for it. I'm going to do something now. I'm going for it. And it's been a major sacrifice in so many ways, which I'm sure you know, like you were saying, like your struggle you had yesterday. It's like, how many times I've just been like, oh my God, like I had such a comfortable life back home I had a good job. I had a lot more money coming in, but that's all part of the sacrifice.
Whatever you pick it. And I think we talked about this yesterday on the podcast, didn't we? I was like, whatever you pick, it truly has to be a passion.
Yes.
Like, because we had an awesome hunter in. Shout out to Sarah, man. She's Sarah Gamache. She's going to hunt African lions with a bow, dude. Like, whoa, she's one of the only women that's hunted like the big five, right? Like, which is insane, or some animals on the big five.
Crazy.
And she's a badass, dude. She outshot the shit out of me at the archery range yesterday. But we were talking about that because I think that there's been such an influx in people like wanting to get into bow hunting because it's so popular now, because you have your Cameron Haynes and you have like, which is great, man. I urge anybody to do it, but I was like, just make sure it truly is a passion. This is really what you want to do. Yeah. Because there's a ton of adversity that you're gonna face. Yeah. Like there's not a chance that if you put a bow in your hands, you're gonna have adversity just shooting the bow, but then hunting is like 10 times more the adversity,
with a
right?
Bow too? Like you got to get right up on that.
Yeah, dude. It's and the success rate, like the numbers are just stacked against you, like right out of the gate, dude. Like I think it's like a 10% success rate or something. Like,
wow.
And I can attest to that.
Yeah, that's super cool.
You know what I mean? So like, and I'm not even trying to be like a professional hunter or anything, So I think that no matter what you do, it's like you have to have some sort of passion behind it. Like, podcasting wasn't just like an idea. Well, I guess it kind of was. That's kind of how it started. It was an idea that I had, and I had this grandeur vision. It's turned into something totally different, and it's evolved into me having more of a human connection than it was what I was originally trying to start, right? Like it was never about like having a huge platform or being famous or being a Joe Rogan or like some of your top podcasters, like it was never really about that. It was just kind of about having a platform and being authentic, right? Because I've worked in the entertainment industry my whole life, and I've seen what people go through, and I've seen puppets too. Like
that's like the most common thing in the
especially
industry.
Like in the movie industry and stuff. Like they're people actors.
They're scared to be who they really are.
Well, they can't be. I mean, they come out and they have this like kind of thing. Well, like Miley Cyrus is a good example of that, right? Like raised as a Disney star, and then all of a sudden, when she turned into the bad girl, it was one of the best things that ever happened to her, you know. But it's also a train wreck at the same time, right? Like and everybody loves to watch a train wreck. Yeah. Everybody loves to watch a hockey fight. Like, people are attracted to that. But I just think whatever you do pick out there is be passionate about it. Like, you have to have some passion behind hockey to lace up those skates and put in the work that you do. Or Ice Wars is even crazier.
Yeah.
Like, I had no idea. I got invited to one up in Cheyenne, and I didn't really know what I was getting into. And do you know Luke
Rockhold?
Rockhold,
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. Like, I don't know him, but I know of him. And
Super nice guy.
Yeah.
Went up and watched him fight. Went up to support him.
Yeah, that's crazy
dude.
he fought too. Because, like, he went in there with, like, pretty minimal hockey fighting experience. He's just like, yeah, I'm down. He's a fighter.
Yeah,
so
kickboxer, right? You can't do much kickboxing in fucking.
That's hats off to him for that, because, like, I mean, I know from my experience, like, that would be comparable, of me probably fighting him in a kickboxing match. That would be pretty comparable.
100%, man. Like, there's so many variables when you're on ice or Teflon, whatever they use.
Yeah.
So you have the skate element, but then you have the helmet, the hockey jersey. I mean, like, guys were literally grabbing the chin strap of a helmet and holding the thumb straps, and then, like,
well, you got guys that have been doing it for their whole life,
crazy.
right? Like, I've been hockey fighting since I was 13, 14. Like, obviously when I was younger, I was only fighting like once or twice a year when I was like, 13, 14, 15, but 16 on, I was fighting steady. So I'm learning the tricks and I'm learning all these things. Whereas, like, I'm sure he had he has the fighting experience, of course, but doing it on ice, you're going into it's like a whole new martial art.
Plus you're bare knuckle, right?
Yeah.
And you're punching hockey equipment, which has got to fucking hurt. It's got to hurt to accidentally punch a helmet.
The helmets are tough. The helmets are the worst side effect, I think, of hockey fighting. And the visors are pretty bad. Like, we have to wear visors, which sucks. But
they make you wear a visor now.
They do now, but the problem is, for the fighting side of it, is like, okay, they're trying to make the game safer, right? So they're saying, okay, we want everyone to wear a visor. So then you got guys that are fighting. For my first priority when I'm fighting a guy is I got to get his helmet off, because he's got a visor. I got to get the visor.
He's got a fucking helmet on.
Yeah,
You're
like, you
trying
can
to
obviously
knock him
punch
out.
without it, right? But, like, if he didn't have a visor, I wouldn't even care if his helmet was on, because I can punch him. Like, I have no issue punching
anybody
him.
that's been cut by one of, like, something like that, like it's like a giant paper cut.
Any time that I've had a fight, maybe not every time, but I would say 90% or 95% of my cuts I've gotten in a hockey fight are from my visor.
Really?
From my visor, my own visor, coming down, hitting me on the lip or something like that, or a cut on my hand from his visor. But most of the time, even the cuts on your face, they're from your visor. Like, they're always right down here now.
Really?
Like, nowadays, you'll see it all the time. Guys look at these ruthless gashes. It's from their visor. But that's one of the things, if it was up to me, I would say don't worry about the visors, especially with guys fighting, because it's like, I mean, in the league I came from, everybody just took their helmets off and fought.
Yeah, is that not... Can you not shed gear?
Yeah, you can take. So the rule now is it's like an extra 2-minute penalty. So if me and you are fighting, we'll just take our helmets off and we both, it'll just be 4-4 for 2 minutes. It's not a big deal. It's not like you're getting a power play or anything like that. Like,
gotcha.
Still even, but lots of guys in the league I was just in the ECHL, not so many guys do it, but people still do it, and especially for me, like, if I was fighting a guy like near playoffs or something like that, I mean, I'm sure both guys would agree, like, hey, let's just take our helmets off. We're not trying to break a hand or get gashed up here before playoffs,
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's one of those things, like, when you see it from my angle, it's like, I see it from the side of, like, I mean, if somebody wants to play without a visor, it should be okay, in my opinion, because of that reason. But I also get, like, protecting the eyes and stuff like that.
Sure.
So yeah, but it's its own thing. There's so many different sides to viewing.
Well, even some of the old guys used to, like, cut their shoulder pads and stuff, right? So they would, like, fall off, and then they'd be shirtless, and then you don't have anything to hang on to. Like,
in lacrosse, like, I play box lacrosse, so I don't know if you know anything about, like, indoor lacrosse. Like, you ever watch the NLL?
Yeah, I've watched, like, the Mammoth, a couple times.
So that's like box lacrosse. That's like in Canada, if you talk about lacrosse, like, if you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go play lacrosse, like, that's lacrosse.
It's
like,
fucking pretty violent
but
itself,
like,
dude.
if you say lacrosse down here, it's field lacrosse. Like, in Canada, we call it field lacrosse, and we call box lacrosse. So it's a little bit different that way. So box lacrosse in Canada, like, you're allowed to fight. So a lot of people are like, what do you mean? They're like, a lot of people just have no clue you can fight in lacrosse. And it's even more dangerous than a hockey fight, because you're on foot. It's bare knuckle. You're still attached to the guy by the jersey. So it's like, it's a pretty ruthless. That's probably, I would say, like, the most intimidating type of fighting.
Really?
Like, hockey fighting's like pretty intense too, obviously. But just the guy being on foot, how much harder they can punch. And that kind of was one of the things that really progressed me as a fighter in hockey, was just like playing lacrosse. During my retirement from hockey, I was playing a lot of box lacrosse in Canada. So yeah, I feel like that a lot of people don't even know you can fight in box lacrosse. So
Yeah, that's pretty wild. I didn't know that. I don't think I've ever seen a fight. Maybe the couple games I've gone to, and I guess I don't.
It's not as much as it was. Same
Okay.
with hockey. It's kind of going the same direction. You don't see as many now, but it's starting to ramp up a little bit. You know,
Okay.
same thing. I don't know why the shift is on, but it's on. It's on, man.
Bring it back, dude. I am a fucking fan. Let's go, dude.
I think people forgot how much of a cheat code it is to have that guy on your team. That's what happened.
and it makes it exciting to watch.
Yeah.
It makes hockey better, in my opinion, because you don't get a bunch of the bullshit antics that you don't want to see, and the refs don't have to get involved as much, which is kind of a crazy thing too, right?
It just sounds so like if you have nothing to do with the sport.
Oh, like people don't
listening
understand.
to you saying that sounds so crazy. What do you mean the ref doesn't have to get involved because there's fighting? Like it just sounds so crazy, but when you really break it down, it does make sense.
Ice Guardians is a great example. Like,
Yes.
go and watch that documentary,
Yeah.
whether you're a hockey fan or not. It is fucking the shit, dude.
It is,
I
yeah.
love that film.
Yeah, they did a great job.
They did a great job with the cinematography, everything like about it, and then just the old clips that they dug up and the old stories, and like Parksy and Probert going at it and stuff like that. It's
Crazy.
pretty cool.
No, what an era of hockey though. Like what an era
Yeah.
of like holy, like that's what like early 2000s for me was like. I mean, I was 10 years old in the year 2000. I was born in 1990, so like that for me, the early 2000s was like probably the pivotal. You know, for me to end up finding the role that I did in the sport, like it had a lot to do with watching those guys, watching guys like
I'm
Parks,
sure.
you know, and like
Yeah.
every game you're watching a game, you're like on the edge of the couch, like who's
When
it
is
gonna
it gonna
be?
happen?
When's it going down? When's it going down? Like
It was
and
so much fun.
Every guy on the bench, like if you notice, like the biggest thing I notice now is like you watch hockey, there's a lot of guys are so like they look so comfortable out there. Like you watch the game back then, guys were like, holy fuck, like everybody's swimming
Yeah.
with the sharks. Doesn't matter if you're a goal scorer. It's like everybody knows there's sharks in the water out here. Keep your head on a
100%.
swivel. Whereas like now I feel like there's a lot more guys are like, you know, the game's changed so much in so many cool ways. It's so skilled now. But I feel like that you see it in playoffs. Like you watch a playoff game now, you'll see it. Everybody's kind of like there's sharks in the water a little bit more. But back in like Parks days, holy man.
It was so
everybody
much fun to
knows.
watch, and especially like being born and raised in Colorado, we didn't have a hockey team for a long time, so they were kind of. I mean, the Avalanche were new. I think you have to look up what year they expanded, but I think, God, it must have been like 90.
Late 90s probably.
Yeah, 98, 99, something like that. And then Parks they won their cup in 01, right?
Yeah, it was early. I couldn't tell you the exact year. I think it was early 2000s for sure. But
God, dude, like watching that and then watching those guys and having Parks come and play, and then you have Foot and Sakic, and like it was just
Those are
unbelievable
legendary.
hockey to watch, man.
The Colorado versus Red Wings series. Like,
Oh my God.
I think like I talk about it all the time, but like that had to be like the coolest.
It was like the Yankees versus the Red
Yeah,
Sox, man.
yeah.
Like it was that sort of
with
rivalry.
war.
Yeah.
Like it was so
Even
cool.
our local DJs here were flying to Detroit to fist fight
Really?
other radio DJs
No
over
way.
the shit. Yeah.
That's crazy.
We had this radio DJ here, Willie B, still on the air. He's awesome. And he's for the rock station here. It's 107.9, I think now, KBPI.
That's awesome.
And they play nothing but like Metallica, Alice in Chains and Megadeth and all the shit that I like to listen to
Yeah.
from my era, And they play some newer stuff. Like you'll hear some like Five Finger on there or
Nice.
Slaughter Prevail or something like that, like some of the stuff that's radio worthy. But anyways, he's been a morning DJ with them forever, but he kind of got his like claim to fame. Like he was a young kid and he was such an Avalanche fan, and he's just a badass. He's just a dude. He's into muscle cars,
Yeah.
dirt bikes. He's fucking awesome. I got to have him on here actually. But he got on a plane on his own dime
to fight
because
another-
they started talking shit back and forth between a couple radio stations and the guys in Detroit, and they were going back and forth. And Willie has always been a supporter of the Broncos, Avalanche, Rock, whatever's
Yeah.
in Denver. He's supporting it. So he got on a plane, walked into the studio, knocked this dude out behind his desk while he was on the
Just
air,
no
and then
way.
just walked out and left and flew back to
No,
Denver.
I was thinking when he first said that, I was thinking maybe they had like a boxing match or something. He just
and
rolled
I
on
think the guy called him out too. And if you know Willie, he's not a small dude. Like he's
Oh
probably
my
like
God.
6 foot, 250,
Wow.
and he works out.
That's
like
crazy.
he's no slump. You know what I mean? So
on the air.
yeah.
That's great.
So that was a pivotal moment. So then you even had like that sort of backing behind,
Yeah.
the city and the team, and it was so much fun as a fan to watch all of that happen.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, anybody that was watching hockey in those days, like they remember that.
Yeah.
Like that was, I mean, I remember sitting on my couch watching, like literally when it all popped off, when Walk comes out, and like, I just remember where I was exactly when I watched that. I was at my friend's house across the street from my parents' house. And I just remember like, this is the best thing I've ever seen. It was a war. And I was like, oh my God. And not only that, was it the best hockey I've ever, like these guys are battling it out. Like it was good hockey, all stars on both teams. Like it was a blast.
Fuck
to watch,
yeah.
man.
Let's go, man. That was
Yeah.
so much fun. I remember pivotally too, like watching them win the cup. It's kind of cool. The industry that I'm in, I've gotten to do some pretty cool things when we're in like the sound check type mode. We'll be in an arena and you have a giant video wall that's like a TV, and I'm like, hey,
Cool.
can you throw on the UFC, or can we
That's
stream
cool.
like the hockey or
Whatever's
football,
on,
or like or it's sound check, and let's play some Slayer, dude. Like let's go, dude.
That's sick.
Let's wake up the Hollywood Bowl. You know what I
That's
mean?
awesome.
Like at 8:00 in the morning, and just like Raining Blood
Rock
is
it out.
playing. Like,
Nice.
like,
That's so cool.
it's
Sound
so
check.
funny, man. But just like, yeah, we had a couple moments where we had the Avalanche on, and everybody was just
Wow.
like, the artists come out. People don't know it, but like, there's a reason why the doors didn't open. On
You gotta finish
Gotta
watching
watch
the game.
the end of the game. It's the it's the end of the game. So
That's awesome.
No, it's awesome, man. Like that was such an awesome era and time to watch hockey. Who were the guys that you looked up to the most during that era? Was it just
I mean, obviously, like everybody always talk about Bob Probert. He was just
Yeah.
like such an OG, and he's like kind of like, as far as like hockey fighting, he's kind of like the Gretzky. Like he's the guy. Everybody always talks about Probert, but for me, it went like farther in. Like obviously Parks was. Parks played for Kelowna Rockets, so he's from BC, like playing in BC. So I'm from BC, like Lower Mainland, Vancouver area. So like guys like that coming up, but like it was endless for me. Like I would watch Yablonski, I would watch guys. I'm talking like the minors, Trevor Gillies. Like,
Yeah.
he was obviously an NHL guy
is
too.
that he played for San Diego, right? For
Yeah,
a while.
yeah.
Gillies, he was
Yeah.
fucking awesome, dude.
Yeah, and then
He's really who got me into watching minor league hockey
Really?
because of
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
because of him enforcing, man.
Yeah,
Like,
he's a really good guy too. So like him and like, I mean Cam Jansen, like these are guys like I'm talking guys that grinded it out on all levels. Cam Jansen was a solid NHL guy too, but there was so many guys in that era to watch. And that was also too when the internet was kind of starting to really get like easy to navigate. Like I
Right.
guess a little bit later, but like I would say, by the time I was playing junior, like I could YouTube any fighter and watch every single one of his fights, or like a good majority. And there used to be a website called dropyourgloves.com. Rest in
Really?
peace to this website. I don't know what happened to it, but it sucks that it's gone.
You should
'cause
bring it back,
It was a
dude.
database that had every player's fights from like
Really?
any league, and it would show you like you could search Daniel Amesbury, and it would show like what league I was currently
so
in.
it's kind of like the tapology of
Yeah, but it was
hockey.
it was the best because like you could go to like ECHL and it would show you the current season. It would show you the guys with the most fights, top 10, and then you can click on
way.
them and it would show you each fight.
Look this up, Derek. Let's see if we can.
So the site's now gone.
Drop your gloves.
But there's so the site's now
That's
gone.
definitely not it.
No, the site's now gone. But you can find. I know there's like a back door, or there's like some way to pull up the old database and be able to like still search on the site.
Wow.
And I don't know how I found it. If you pull up my Facebook, I don't know if you can or not, but I just posted somebody's drop your gloves database, so you can get a look of like what it looks like.
Oh, that's cool.
But yeah, man, it was the best because you could literally, you could go, you could watch anybody's fight. So back then I'm a nerd, right? Like when it comes to hockey fighting, and I just cared so much about it. Like, and I want to learn the grappling. So I would find everybody and I would break down their styles and how they did it. And,
Really?
And that's kind of what made me, like, YouTube made me the fighter I am.
And that's what's great about your podcast is you guys bring a lot of that stuff up, right? Like you kind of the critique and
we'll talk a
into
lot
it. In
about
each episode, you kind of whatever episode number you pick a hockey player, right? You've kind of been doing is that's dope too. I thought,
that was like something me and my buddies used to do when we were younger, and so like I was like, we gotta every time we go, like say it's whatever episode it is, we'll have a hockey player, whatever, and whoever's number it was, kind of thing.
What are you gonna do when you get into the 100s, dude? Like
we'll have to go to motocross or something. You think you go to motocross numbers
when
or something.
When you get to 800, it's gonna be all the low lying fruit, dude.
Yeah, we'll have to figure that out when we get there. Yeah. We're gonna be getting into football numbers pretty soon here, and then and then we'll go to motocross and if you go a little bit farther down, there should be. I just posted one of my buddies, Drop Your Glove. So right here. This is my buddy Sean McMorrow. And if you click on these, this is his whole fight card. He's number 3 in all time professional fights. God, 515 career fights he had at the professional level. So it shows you every guy he fought. It'll show you his height. So look, he's taller 3 inches, or he's shorter 1 inch. So it'll tell you
win percentage.
Yeah, wow. And it's like kind of the general, like the fans vote on who won, who lost. So it's it can be a little bit skewed on the wins and losses. But if you go through, you can see he had a season. He had like 90 fights or something. Like he set the record, like the world record for the most fights. And look at this. Like this is an insane. Like if you look at the names on here too, like
anybody that's listening to this that has website knowledge. Let's restart this shit, man.
Yes.
Like, let's get it going.
100%. Like, if you can get this going, this would be huge. Look, he's got, like, Wade Brookbank. Like, it's not like he's fighting. He's fighting legit guys. Jeremy Yablonsky, Brian McGrattan. This is a very... He's got to be so proud of this. This is an amazing accomplishment.
Badass.
Yeah, so Sean McMorrow, shout out Sean McMorrow, because this is great. But this is how good the website was. You could just go through. All these are videos on the right.
Oh no
bar.
shit! So you would click on it, and then you could go and watch the fight.
You can watch every one of those.
Like, dude, I would be on this for hours.
Yeah. So when I was in high school and playing junior and stuff, like I was literally. So look, see that one has 2 little blood dots beside it. That means it was like super bloody. So you obviously watch those ones first. So dropyourgloves.com, man, shout out, because they were the real MVPs of my high school.
Bring it back. Somebody's got to have it, right?
So honestly, I think that was a big reason I became kind of the nerd I am when it comes to hockey fighting on the technical side of it, and just having numerous styles and numerous ways. I kind of know, like, as soon as one guy switches, or as soon as he does one thing, I know exactly what style to match it up with, and it's because of the website, because I would just go so deep on this site, and I would watch guys that fight in close and grapple. I would watch guys that string guys out. I'd watch guys that switch, and I would literally watch one guy for a week, and then that weekend I'd have a game, and I would just try and fight the same way. And then I'd be like, okay, didn't go as good as I would have liked.
Right.
Try it one more time, and then figure that style out. And then I'd watch another guy and then practice his style until I had a handful of styles.
So these were your mentorship then?
Yeah. Wow. So, and now I have I would say I have 5 or so different kind of styles, I guess you could call them, that I'll kind of just switch through during a fight, depending on what's happening, depending on the guy's size or how he fights. Is he short? Is he tall? Long? Is he going to grapple, or is he switching? So I kind of have a response for everything now, and it comes into obviously being where I'm at now, and kind of doing so well in Ice Wars and stuff like that. So
that's so awesome, man. If you're not checking out the Mountainside Podcast on YouTube, you absolutely should be. If you like the content that we create here and you want to help support the podcast, please take a moment, subscribe to us on YouTube, and hit that notification bell. I saw a post you made a couple days ago. We just had DJ and Bo in here not too long ago, and that day they actually left the podcast studio and came down, and Lando worked out with you guys together.
Yeah.
On some goal stuff. But one of the videos that I thought I saw was you teaching him how to fight on the ice. And I was like, this makes so much sense. This would actually apply in a bar fight if somebody was wearing a leather jacket or something.
I mean, it's funny because there's some stuff that I see even at the NHL level that's one of the things I learned, I wouldn't say at a young age, but I learned it maybe a year or two into my my first time at Kick at the Can with pro, but or minor pro. But there's some stuff you see even at the NHL level. I'm like, what is this guy doing? This guy's like, you're spinning the wrong way. Like you're walking into power. Like it's crazy that you see it, but it's also like nobody talks about it. It's like also one of those things. It's like I also have really contemplated like, man, I should really just talk about this stuff on my page. But at the same time, I'm like, well, I'm
Isn't
still
that
fighting.
what the podcast is for?
Yeah, but I'm still fighting. So I kind of like, do I really want to just give all my secrets away? So it's almost like one of these
Francis Ngannou going on and telling his game plan, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like another thing where it's like hockey fighting, especially, it's not so widespread. So it's a very like, hey, this is my recipe. Parks might tell me his recipe, but he's not probably going to tell everybody his recipe kind of thing, and it's the same way for me. Like I want to tell everybody, I want to share everything. And there's a part of me that just wants to post everything online because I'm like, man, the fights will probably get better. Everybody will get better. But then will it make my job harder? Probably.
Yeah.
It'll probably make my job a little harder. So I don't know. Maybe at some point, maybe when I'm done and I hang them up, I'll have to do like a master class on what I know. Obviously, I'm not the best by any means, but...
Well, shit, you ought to coach people on how to do it, man. I mean, I think that with all the experience that you have now, like outside of playing hockey, like... You've done some fight training and stuff, but what are you doing conditioning wise? Because like Parksy, like some of the craziest stories when I had him sitting in here was how he used to condition his hands, like punching trees, wrapping chains around his hands and hitting brick walls, like dragging his knuckles down, concrete walls to build
I think he was like hitting the
calluses
bag with chains on his hands, like stuff like
it's
that, punching
wild
trees.
shit, yeah.
Yeah, like you kind of, that's the thing with like bare knuckle stuff. And like obviously like anybody, I don't know, like you had Uli the Monster.
Yeah.
He was on the other day. Like
So
I just
what
met
an
him.
awesome dude.
Yeah,
right?
I just met him. I actually sparred with him one round at the gym or whatever.
Are you training at Genesis?
Yeah,
then?
yeah.
Oh,
So I
okay.
just started at Genesis now. So that was my first time. That was literally my first time sparring there. I just got to the gym. Like, hey, they're like, hey, go spar this guy. I'm like, all right, yeah. I'm always down.
shit,
But
yeah.
he's a dog. And then I started following him. I'm like, man, this guy's I love people.
Fastest knockout in combat sports history.
And he's
man.
just so humble. He's just like you know what I mean? Like he's been through it, but he's just I relate with him on a lot of levels of stuff that I've been through it, and I'm now at the point where I have an understanding. I have this spiritual connection, and like when I follow him, I feel a lot of like a connection with him because I'm like, man, I think like his story and what he's going through. I'm like, and he's the older guy coming out of he's kind of just getting going, or maybe not just getting going, but he started at a later age.
Yeah,
he started at a later age, and he just said, forget it, I'm doing it. Like I don't care.
But what a savage of a human, man! Like,
yes,
it takes a real man to come in here. It was funny because like I was stoked to have him in here. I was like, but when I have these guys in, like yourself, you're one of them, or these pro fighters like Kamosi or whatever, there is a little bit of nerves, right? I was like, I don't want to piss these guys off. Like, I don't want to be that guy that gets his ass kicked on camera, right?
You know
like,
what?
I don't ever really have that. Like I used to kind of have it, but like with Ulysses, I was a little bit nervous, like because he
looks the part.
path,
like you look at
right?
him, you're like,
Yeah.
oh man, this guy's kind of scary.
There couldn't be a bigger sweetheart. We cried half the podcast, dude, because he
Amazing.
started telling his son's story and what his son has been through, and it's
totally.
like the baddest man in the world is not afraid to cry publicly, like tears running down his face, snot out of his nose, like. And that really made me have a connection and a new appreciation for him to openly tell that story. And it wasn't for like, oh, poor me. Like the only reason he told that story was because he thought that maybe somebody else out there could benefit from that, right?
Yes.
So like
selfless.
Yeah, it's totally selfless, right? But not only that, like he goes and, I mean, I don't know if you watched his bare knuckle fight, it didn't go his way. And I felt super bad for him, because I think the next thing for him in BYB was a title shot.
Oh yeah.
So now it's almost like you got to start. He's
back
taking
down,
5 steps back,
Yeah.
right? Like so it was rough, and it was a pretty violent fight. I think it went 3 rounds, and both guys walking out of that were, swole the fuck up.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
bare knuckle,
well,
right?
bare knuckle,
Yeah.
man. It's a whole different ball game, right?
But then he goes 7 days later. Did you see his post? He just
he
ran
did a marathon, or sorry, like an ultra. Wasn't it 100 miles or something?
50 miles on the Keys. Like,
Dude, that's insane, man. Yeah, that's so cool.
so that's the type of human that you're dealing with,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
somebody that does not quit.
Yeah.
Like it's just fucking so badass. But I'm sorry. So back to you, like what are you doing conditioning wise? Like you're also still in the boxing space,
Yeah.
and then Ice Wars is a whole nother thing that I want to talk to you about because I had no idea. It is a tournament. It's not, you're fighting 3 or 4 times a night if you're going to make it to that crown.
So, I mean, for like conditioning wise, I love being here now because I'm like in the mountains. I got the elevation. I'm stoked. I have a fight in July, boxing in Nashville. I am so pumped I'm going to have iron lungs.
Yeah.
I'm so pumped on that. I'm like, I can't wait to feel the feeling of like that these other guys get that I'm not, you know what I mean? I remember the feeling of coming here. When I'm walking up the stairs, huffing and puffing. I'm
I thought it was hockey in Vail too for a little bit, right?
Yeah, I played 2 games for them around Christmas time for a senior team there. But gotcha. A lot of people don't even know. Like, I used to play in the Central Hockey League, and there was a team in Denver. So I played for Tulsa, Oklahoma, and we would come play against Denver, and it was like brutal because you're just sucking wind the whole time. The time the third period comes around, you're done. You're ready to tap out. You're like, can we just get out of this game? Let's just get out of here. Let's just go home. Like, you're just like, you feel like you're just ready to tap out because you're just not prepared. It's such an advantage having a
huge
team
advantage,
here.
yeah.
But then the following year, I played for Denver for the Cutthroats. We played at the Coliseum.
So, really? That's badass. I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Are they still going?
There was only 2 seasons. It was, I think.
What a badass name too, dude. Like,
sick.
that's fucking...
And the logo was like a cutthroat trout.
Yeah,
it was
fuck yeah.
My dad to this day, he's like, that was the best logo ever. Like, he still wears that jersey.
How did I miss that? What year was that?
2012 to 2014, 2012, 2013, 2013, 2014.
Oh shit, I just missed it because I moved back in like 2015. So
yeah, look at that logo.
That's badass, dude.
Oh yeah. So, and when I played for Denver, it was always impossible to get someone to fight because they're so gassed. It's like, I'm not fighting. It's tired. I'm tired enough just playing here.
You're right.
But yeah, that was a great team. It was awesome experience. That's how I met Parks.
Okay.
So yeah, like, for me, like I love the mountains. I'm from BC. So like we have a lot of mountains, a lot of trails around here. So being here, it's like I have a mountain bike and I just find elevation and I just ride uphill.
There's so many badass trails here, man.
And the fun part about it is like, you ride uphill, then you get to ride downhill, So it's kind of like a reward at the end. So I love riding my bike. Obviously running too is kind of like sprints is like you kind of got to do sprints. As a hockey player, running's kind of like your bodies aren't really built for it. Like, we're so like, just the way the way we glide on the ice, I think it's pretty hard. So I like on the body, I feel. Mm-hmm. So I don't like run as much as I probably would like because I feel like it's a good workout. But I'll do a lot of mountain biking, and then I still do runs, and then I'll do like sprints, uphill sprints and stuff like that. And then obviously in the boxing gym, and I got my fight coming up July 12th. So right now is where I like really start to ramp up. Like the 8-week mark is where it's like,
hell yeah, not
messing around anymore.
What league is that in, and how can people watch?
Yeah, so the boxing I'm doing now, like I've kind of like I do have some big goals with boxing as well. Like it's a little different because I play hockey in the winter and stuff. But this fight, like I'm building my social media thing. So this is called the Creator Fight League. The guy putting it on, his name is Anthony, pretty boy. Anthony? Oh man, I feel bad. I'm getting this guy's name wrong.
We can look it up.
Yeah.
Is it one of these?
Anthony?
Creator Fight League. No. Creator Fight League. Yeah, should come up. Anyway, so he fought Tommy Fury. Okay. So he's like one of the big like influencer boxers. Anthony Taylor. That's right. I'm so spaced out there. So Anthony Pretty Boy Taylor, they call him, and he fights on like Misfits and stuff like that. But he started this thing called Creator Fight League, and essentially that's not him, I don't think. No.
It's probably somebody doing a video on him.
Scooping some clicks. You know what I mean?
There's no way that guy's fighting.
You could search up like Anthony Taylor versus Tommy Fury or something like that. But anyways, Anthony Taylor, he's the one putting this event on, and it's essentially they're trying to find guys like me that are kind of getting into boxing. I haven't been boxing for long. Like I did the barstool thing and stuff, but those are just tough, man. So right. They're these guys are they're basically trying to what my understanding is, they're basically trying to like funnel guys into Misfits, and Misfits is like the promotion that Jake Paul and KSI and stuff fought on.
Gotcha.
So it's a little bit of a different route, you know, as far as like it's kind of like the influencer
But they're
boxing
taking
scene.
people with real fighter experience.
Yeah, like a lot of MMA guys that are switching to boxing. Like a lot of the guys that are fighting are MMA guys switching to boxing. And then obviously when you get to the top level, like these guys actually are fighters. Like they're not, obviously, you know, you take the
That's
top.
my problem with the influencer boxing is when you have like, you know, a 300-pound guy versus a 120-pound guy.
Yeah, just a
and
complete
it's
mismatch
like, yeah,
or whatever.
one guy reviews cereal and the other guy fucking makes pizza or whatever. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly. So that's the thing with this, and like, you know, this is great for my platform.
Yeah.
So like for me, I'm like, as much as there's still a route. I still want to prove myself in like I would love to fight at least one bare knuckle fight at some point. Like I'm not ready yet, but I would love to do it at some point, just because like I just think it's the sickest thing in the world. I love it.
It is so badass, man.
But
It's
I mean,
so
this is kind of a
crazy
part
that-
of my path.
That was one thing I was thinking about to bring it back to sports for a minute. Like, there's not as much fighting in football. There's not as much in hockey anymore. There's hardly ever any in baseball, occasionally. But like all these sports kind of like outlaw. But then you see the fast growth in bare knuckle, and the UFC is
Oh man, yeah.
they're got to be like two of the top sports, especially combat sports,
Yeah.
right? Like
I
people
think
are eating it up.
Combat sports in general, like right now, are just like crushing. You know,
The
and like
UFC is so exciting to
Yeah,
watch, man.
yeah.
And bare knuckle is too.
it's
And then
it's just the level of it too.
Bellator, all that sort of shit, man. It's
Yeah.
fucking awesome.
The thing I love the most about the bare knuckle, like the thing that honestly, like I've actually went to a BKFC tryout in Miami at the same gym. I'm pretty sure the same gym that Uli trained at.
Okay.
At Mundo Boxing. I'm pretty sure it's that Fifth Ave gym he was talking
Okay,
about.
yeah,
Because I
Fifth
did
Street.
listen to some of the
Yeah.
pod or Fifth Street. Yeah. So I flew to Miami to try out for BK. Like it was just like it was
Nice.
a great experience. Yeah. It was like walking into a freaking prison. Walking into this place, some of the gangster dudes you
know,
walk
the
in there.
fighters.
These guys are all tatted up. Everybody's got gold teeth and gold chains. I'm like, I remember me and my coach walking. We're like, holy fuck! Like, all right, here we are. But
you know, it's like it's a different breed of people. I
Right?
mean, you know, training down at Genesis,
Yeah.
Gertz is just like fucking.
animal.
He's one of the scariest dudes I know, and Parksy's kind of the same way.
Yeah.
You know, the sweethearts, but
Yeah.
God, would I hate to be on the other end of
Yes.
that? You know what I mean?
Savages.
Yeah.
And so the thing that really I like about bare knuckle, like for me, for my style of like, you can grab on. So you
Yeah.
can like literally grapple a guy around the neck and throw the over under. Like it's kind of leans into me. Like boxing, you can't do that. Whereas like obviously hockey fighting, it's number one, it's bare knuckle.
Yeah.
So I have no problem getting hit with a bare fist. I've done that 1,000 times. But like just being able to grapple with a guy and strike at the same time.
There's
That's
a huge
That's the thing I like about it.
to
Yeah.
that, right? 'Cause
Yeah.
there's
And it
so much
makes
more
boxers
leverage.
really uncomfortable. If all you've ever done is boxed and then you go to bare knuckle and some guy grabs you like that, like you're going to be pretty uncomfortable.
Right.
You know, I feel like at least the MMA guys have done that before. They've felt that before. But if you're just a straight boxer going into a bare knuckle and a guy grabs you around the head like that, you might start to panic a little bit. Like, what the fuck's going on? You're like kind of looking at the ref, like, well, you're not going to break this up. So
The
it's
other
cool.
thing that's crazy about bare knuckle that I'm such a fan of is them starting them 3 feet apart,
Yes.
dude. Like
Uh-huh.
it's gonna be out of the gate.
But
and
why
then
why don't they all, like, I feel like it makes so much more sense.
total sense.
Like, you're going to have these guys walk to the middle. Why not just start them right there?
And the rings are crazy too. Like
The
one-
BYB ring is nuts.
a fucking triangle, bro.
Yeah.
Like, are you out of your mind?
One
That's
step
like-
to the right, you're in the corner. One step to the left, you're in the corner.
It's unbelievable. So
Yeah.
it keeps you in the middle, right?
Yeah.
And even the BKFC ring is fucking brilliant. Like,
Yeah.
why isn't a boxing ring round?
Yes.
A boxing
I know.
ring should be round.
It makes sense.
Shouldn't
yeah.
be square. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, the BYB is crazy because there's like, I feel like if you get in the corner, like you can't just spin your way out because the corners are like,
No, dude.
they're way sharper.
It is
know?
a tight triangle.
Yeah.
I mean,
You
it's
just gotta move
fucking-
forward
There's a
almost.
reason why it is the strongest shape, dude. 'Cause-
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty cool though. So like, bare knuckle's super rad. But yeah, so I'm fighting in July 12th in Nashville.
Hell yeah.
So I'm just kind of getting ready for that. Like it's kind of time now where I start really ramping things up as far as training and stuff like that. But yeah, man, I'm excited for that. It's going to be nice. Like I don't know if Nashville is like sea level, but it's definitely not.
Have you been there before?
Never been to Nashville.
Oh, shit.
I played hockey in Knoxville.
Stay away from Broadway until after your fight, dude. You're going to have a fucking blast, dude.
Yeah,
it
I'm
is
looking
the
forward to
Vegas of the South.
No
Or
way.
like,
Yeah, I've heard it's amazing.
Country music, I mean, it's awesome. I'll turn you on to some spots to go check out, dude. It's
I'm a big
cool
country
city.
bar fan.
Are you?
Yeah. I grew up my hometown. It was Roosters. It was the country bar. So I just
Hell yeah. Let's dive into that because we're burning through the time here.
Yes.
But like your background, like what kind of got you into this? I fucking British Columbia, you know, that part of the country from America into like Vancouver is some of my most favorite spots I've ever seen for beauty in the world, man. Like, so I used to tour with rock bands, and when we were doing US and Canada, we would always do it on tour buses. And no matter what time we were going through, even in the middle of the night, I would get up, and the buses are badass. They're like $1 million
buses.
Yeah,
Oh,
they're $1 million buses. Like we have pristine bunks. It's kind of like you're sleeping in a coffin. You've never slept better in your life.
Yeah,
it's like
it's pitch
blackout.
black.
It's fucking cold. It's vibrating going down the road. Like, knock on wood, I was never in a bad accident
good,
in
yeah.
one of them or anything like that. But then we have back lounges and front lounges, which are kind of like common areas, and then the bunk. There's some etiquette.
They're
on
probably
the bus.
pretty similar to like our team buses. I would think like they call them Rockstar buses for us.
Oh, really?
They'll have like 12 bunks in the middle section.
Yep.
And you can kind of, it gets pitch black in there. You got
Yeah.
And then
And you
there's
have
like
your
the
own
lounge in the back,
curtain too.
the
Yeah.
bunks that fold down, and the lounge in the front. Kind of. It's got to
Yeah.
be similar.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very simple.
I
It
love
sounds
that.
just like it.
Yeah.
And there's like Wi-Fi on the bus. There's fucking. But my favorite thing is I would always make friends with the drivers, right? The
Yeah.
drivers are your buddies. Those are the guys that clean the bus. Those are the
Yeah.
guys that can fucking gonna take care of you. Like, hey, if you got to stop, they're probably gonna pull over for you if you're a nice guy.
Yeah.
If not, you fucking
Suck it
better
up.
find that grocery bag. You know what I mean? Like,
Pay the fine.
yeah. So yeah, I always made friends with the drivers. So I would get up and like if they were having trouble, you know, staying awake or something, I wouldn't mind.
Go chat 'em
hopping
up?
in. Yeah, I'd go
Yeah.
chat them up for a little
That's
bit,
awesome.
you know, because they're always driving at like 2, 3 in the morning. We're going to work at like 5 or 6. But sorry, back to what I was getting to. My favorite spot to do that was when we were going into BC and just hop up in the jump seat, and the windows are so big in the bus. It's like you're just standing on the front of the road and they're flat
Yeah.
nosed, and you can see. I would see
That-
grizzly bears and moose, and like the mountains are just so epic. They're just
Oh, yeah.
different than Colorado, right?
Yeah.
Like it's beautiful here, but those glaciated peaks, and then you know,
Yeah.
and even going along the coast, like seeing killer whales, and just like it's so
Yeah.
badass, dude.
It really is. And like, you know, you miss it a lot. Like when you leave, obviously, that's like the one thing in the lakes. Like I grew up in Maple Ridge, like my hometown. I'd have a handful of lakes within 15 minutes of my house. And I remember my first pro season when I went down to Georgia. I remember coming back and I remember walking out onto my parents' patio and just looking at Golden Ears. Like this mountain is just right in front of my parents' house.
It's unbelievable.
A giant mountain. And I'm like sitting there just staring at it.
What is it
And
called?
my dad's
Golden
Golden
Ears?
Ears, yeah.
Can you pull that up there? I
Yeah,
wanna see
search
some
up Golden Ears
photos of
Mountain. So this is like off my parents' front patio in like a regular neighborhood. You know, it's not like a, you know, rich area by any means, just a regular neighborhood.
Yeah.
You walk onto my parents' patio and you just look at this giant mountain. I'm staring at it and I'm like, this has been here my whole life? That's what I said to my dad. I'm like, this has been here my whole life and I've never looked at
You
it.
just noticed it.
Yeah. And I'm like, holy crap. And
Yeah.
it was just like, this new gratitude for this mountain. Yeah, try and find one with the you know, like a little snow
Maybe
on the
go
top.
up to the top and click
this is-
images.
Yeah, go to images maybe.
This way we'll get holy shit, dude. Look at that
So, yeah.
waterfall, man.
That's like where I grew up. So that's like Alouette Lake and stuff. Like that's literally
So
that's my
incredible,
neighborhood.
man.
Like I grew up, you know, 15 minutes away from some of these pictures.
Well, it's fitting that you're on the mountainside, dude.
Like this
because
picture right
fucking-
here, Golden Ears Provincial Park with that
Yeah.
girl, the girl there. That's like where I'll ride my bike there and do cold plunges. Like when I was living back, like for ice wars,
Yeah.
I'll cruise my bike there. Take me a while to get there, and then go for a cold plunge in this crystal clear water.
We do it all the time here in the
Yeah,
river. Like you don't
I
even
bet.
need a fucking ice
No,
raft,
I
dude.
know.
Like even in the middle of summer, like you get up into some of those
Oh,
high
yeah.
alpine lakes.
I
and
did
they're
one
fucking
yesterday.
cold.
Coming back, I met DJ. I wish I remembered where I met him, but I was just like, "Hey, is there any places?" He's like, "Yeah, go down here." And there's like a little kayak, like boat launch.
Yeah.
And I went in, laid in the river, and had a little cold plunge. I'm like, "Yeah,
Hell
this is
yeah.
nice being able to be somewhere where I don't have to have an ice bath or a freezer full of water outside
Yeah.
my house.
Hell
But
yeah.
so I grew up here and you know, the beautiful country, pretty gritty town, like a lot of farm boys and like I don't know,
Is
my
hockey big? I would
hockey's
imagine.
huge. Yeah,
hockey's
huge,
life,
yeah.
right?
Like that's everybody plays hockey and honestly, like a lot of fighting, like growing up. Like when I was like in my teen years, my high school was pretty tough. We had a lot of our big rugby school, high school.
Shit. Yeah, that's a rough sport.
So it was like a lot of tough guys and like, yeah, man, there was like a lot of fighting growing up, and it kind of just obviously kind of blossomed for me into, you know, I started to realize like I can make the hockey team by fighting. So it kind of just became like a way to make the team. I just wanted to play. I just wanted to make the team. And
Did it ever get you in any trouble, like
Yeah.
school or law or anything?
Definitely,
like that?
yeah,
Like
and-
Canada's pretty strict on the law side of stuff, right?
Yeah,
Especially when it comes to violence.
Yeah, the violent side. Yeah, like it will, you know, it can take you down. I mean, with anything, like people now, like, you know, if anybody ever says something about a bar fight, like I am the most anti-bar fight person in the world.
I am too,
because
man.
I'm like
It's so dumb.
I'm like, forget the charges, like the guns and the knives. That's enough for me. Like, listen, at the end of the day, if I gotta protect somebody, like it is what it is, right? You kind of gotta throw that shit out the window. If it's hey, I gotta help my buddy in a bad situation, that's one thing. But like, I am the when I was raised too, my dad would be like, you know, try not to fight people you don't know, was like kind of one of his things, because you just don't freaking know it. Nowadays, it is so much worse, right? So, you know, when we were young and we were in high school, it was a lot of like fighting, but they were, you know, fairly decently fair fights. There wasn't weapons and stuff. And,
Yeah.
you know, being in the town I felt like it was a pretty gritty town in that sense. And our hockey teams were always
It's just
tough.
different, man. I have a friend actually that got in a bar fight, and this was 20 years ago. Got in a bar fight. You know, roadie, we're in a town that we don't know. Of course, you know, some shit goes down. He sticks up for himself, wins the fight. I guess if you win a street fight or a bar fight, if there's a winner or a loser, right? Walks out of the bar and gets shot in the back. I mean, he lived, but still,
Wow.
like,
He's lucky that he
fucking
lived.
yeah. I mean, that's the thing. You don't know.
Especially, and like, you know, and that's kind of like how I'll always tell people, especially like, you know, just playing hockey with all these young guys and stuff. I actually, crazy story. So I was at a bar in Denver, without throwing the bar under the bus. This is 10 years ago. I was at a bar in Denver when I was playing for the Cutthroats. And these two guys are running around the bar and they're just trying to fight everybody. Like you could tell these guys were looking for trouble. And there's guys on my team like, hey, Ames, let's what do you think? Let's take them out. Come on, there's guys on my team. Hey, come on, let's just do it. Let's get, these guys are idiots. Let's go take them out. And I'm like, dude, you guys are nuts, man. Like there's no chance. I'm not, you know, I have nothing to prove. Like
I love Kamosi's line. He's like, I don't fight unless I'm getting paid for it.
Yeah,
So, like,
exactly.
yeah.
No, 100%.
So
I'm like,
fuck off.
Yeah, so pretty much that's what I'm saying. The guys on my team are like, hey, let's go. Come on, me and you. Let's 2v2 these guys right now. Like, no chance, dude. No chance. Finally, they sucked two guys into fighting them. And the guys that they sucked into fighting them were just beating the wheels off them. And then the crowd's stoked. Everybody's cheering on these guys because these guys were running around the whole bar like idiots.
Yeah.
So everybody's like, yeah. And like the guy that was underneath, one of the guys that was trying to fight everyone, he was like throwing these weird punches. And I was like, well, that's kind of weird. Like, what the hell's this guy doing? And then next thing you know, the guys that were on the bottom both get up and take off. Like the guys that were kind of bullying everyone trying to fight.
Huh?
Yeah. And then so the guy's standing there and he's got his hands up. The guy that beat him up's like, yeah. And the crowd's going wild. Like, yeah, you beat him up. And then like you could kind of see like his blood soaking through his shirt. And he kind of looks down and he lifts his shirt and he's just gutted, dude. Like stabbed. I don't know how many times he got stabbed, but it was bad. And he just like goes white as a ghost and runs out the back door of this place. And I just remember looking at my guys on my team like, yeah, you guys see that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that would have been us, you know? And
It's fucking crazy.
that's that
dude.
story I'll always talk about because it's like just a perfect example of like, you know, you just don't know, especially nowadays. You know, if you got to stand up for yourself, that's one thing. Or if you got to stand up for a buddy or a girl
yourself.
or
know
whatever.
how to defend yourself. I think that's good, but
Yeah.
like don't go out looking for it, man, because you
No.
never know.
Yeah.
Like, and nothing is fair, right?
Never.
Nothing is fair
Yeah.
in the streets.
And,
like,
and it's like there's so many
matter
things.
how big and
you gotta
bad you are.
navigate. You got to navigate getting arrested, getting shot, getting stabbed.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's so many. It's just such a dangerous game to be playing. And at the end of the day, for me, I just don't feel like I don't feel the hunger to do it. Like usually the guys that are running around trying to fight at the bar, they're trying to prove to themselves that they can do that.
Yeah.
So go to a boxing gym. If you want that, if you want to feel that feeling, go to a boxing gym. You can fight whoever you want. You know?
That's why I love jiu-jitsu so much, man, because it is very like humbling. Like,
yes.
And I get it out in there. Like I'm at the most peace when I leave jiu-jitsu and I've been choked 4 times or I've choked a couple people.
Like this guy just killed me with his bare hands. Yeah. Like, holy shit.
And you know, I would say that is a great defense mechanism if you find yourself in some sort of street fight. I don't think it's the most effective, but it's the most effective on the law side because I've actually found myself, one of them was in Nashville on Broadway.
Wow.
I was standing at the bar. The bars are jam-packed, like country bar. And, you know, it's wintertime, so everybody's dressed up. I think I was there in December doing like some country music thing and award show or something. So I went out to the bars one night, and this was a long time ago. I don't even remember the name of the bar that I was at, but there was like some yuppie dudes fighting some country dudes, right? And I was just in the middle of them trying to order a beer, and I'm like a roadie, so I'm like the Southern California kid, you know, so they didn't know which side I was on, but I wasn't with either of these guys, right?
You get
but
caught in the middle.
Yeah, I get caught in the middle. Well, the next thing I know, it's starting to go to blows, and this dude comes after me, but he's wearing a leather jacket, so I just gave him the old collar choke, dude, and just laid him on the ground. Right. I put him to sleep real quick, laid him down real gentle, and I walked straight to the door.
See you later.
Yeah, because he had his hands on me like he was, you know, I think he ripped up my T-shirt a little bit. And I walked to the bouncers. I straightened myself out, walked to the bouncers, like, hey, there's some guys fighting at the bar. And then I just walked up the street because I was like, I know the police are fucking coming.
Yeah.
I know there's bad news behind it. Yeah. This guy's going to wake up soon and find out. And I just went back to my hotel. I was like, night's over.
That's a good, easy way
and
to
I wasn't
get
even
out.
trying. So you never know when you're going to try to, or when somebody's, but I've also had another situation where I used a little bit of jiu-jitsu to like hold a guy down. He was fighting somebody else that was outmanned, outgunned in a bar. He was belligerently drunk. So I put him on the ground and held him down until the police showed up because the bouncers weren't doing anything. And this poor dude was getting his ass kicked. And then it turned into his girlfriend trying to fight the guy. Ugh. So I used a little bit of jiu-jitsu or what I learned in it. And then when the cops showed up, they were like, so what happened? I was like, they got all the witness reports. And all I kept saying was like, hey, you need to stop. You need to stop, even though I was like choking this guy.
No, honestly,
you know what I mean?
That's the best situation probably for him too.
But
right?
the moment you throw a punch or you pick up a bar stool or anything violently throwing your hands, you are fucked in the eyes of the law. But like a submission, as long as you're telling them to stop.
I feel like it looks like, you know, at the end of the day, that's a great way to get out of a bad spot. And honestly, you probably did that guy a favor because if you didn't choke him out or if you didn't grab him like that and someone else did end up hitting him with something or whatever, you know, it could have been a lot worse for him too, right?
And I was giving him the benefit of the doubt. He was in a fucking bad position and I totally could have put him to sleep. Yeah. But I just kept... He would fight back. This dude wouldn't stop. He was drunker than shit, dude. Like, I'm sure
alcohol's a hell of a drug, man.
It's the worst, man. It's the worst.
Isn't it crazy? It's like the legal one, hey? Like,
the liquid.
You know what? Let's just let everybody drink. Let's forget everything. Let's make everything else illegal.
Yeah. I mean, think about how much money is made on DUIs from lawyers and fucking like. And I'm not condoning drinking and driving, but it ruins people's lives, man. Yeah. Like, fortunately, I've never had one, but.
You can't cross the border like into Canada or Canada coming down here.
Canada's rough. Yeah.
Canada's pretty strict going up there. And then I think it's the same thing coming down, right? Like, it's pretty tough to get down here if you got a DUI.
Even if you have a DUI or any sort of record,
you going either way into Canada or coming back down, which you think like Canada, US would be like a little more chill because like, you're Canadian or you're American. Like,
so do you have your residency here in the United States?
Yeah, not yet. So my woman just got her green card. I'm in the process. So I haven't got it yet, but I'm looking forward to getting it. But yeah, I'm fully legit. Like I got everything in the meantime for work and stuff like that.
Meanwhile, hundreds of people are walking across the border.
Yeah, you got to do it the hard way. That's what I'm saying. Like we joke around about it all the time. We're like, oh my God, dude, like it's crazy. And they get money too.
I know. So, that's what I'm saying. And a cell phone.
I know. We always would make the joke too. Like it would always be like a joke on my first team I'd play on. It'd be like, well, you could always, you know, just get that guy to come down across the southern border. Like it was just a joke. Like, hey, you get money and it's crazy. But yeah, you got to do it the right way, man. And so, Yeah, like we've got everything pretty much dialed in. I'm just waiting on some paperwork on the Canadian side, and then I'll be fully like get my green card on this side. But right now I got all my immigration in check for work and for hockey. You know, like played in the ECHL last year, which was, you know, making that step was big for me.
Is that at Fort Wayne or
Fort Wayne Comets? Yeah.
Are you still there? Or?
So we only really sign year-long contracts in that league. Like it's a 1-year deal, but they do still have my rights. So like if I go back to that league, like either I go back to them or they can trade me or whatever. But I'm not technically signed with them right now. Obviously the goal is always move up. So, you know,
when's the NHL coming?
I don't know. That's I feel like I still have a league in between. But my goal right now, I always have like a short-term goal, long-term goal. My goal right now is to just get games in the A. And, you know, one step at a time. I think coming here to Denver was a big step for that because of the guys that I have around me. I just played.
Does Denver have an A team currently? Or?
Colorado Eagles.
Eagles, right?
Yeah.
And they're out of Vail, correct?
No, they're in north of Denver.
Oh, they are.
They're in Fort Collins.
Fucking shout these guys out. Hey, listen, if you're listening to this and you're local, like, go to some of these games, man. This shit is exciting.
The Eagles used to be in the league I'm in now, the ECHL, and they've always had a great fan base. And they're in the A now.
Where are they at Fort Collins?
Just beside Fort Collins, I think.
Okay.
Those are other teams in the league that came up there.
Nice.
They're just out of Fort Collins, whatever. Loveland, right there. That's near Fort Collins, right?
Yeah. So they must play. Oh, they got their own arena too.
Yeah. So and they get a lot of fans. They've always done. Oh, Brad Hunt, the captain there, is from my hometown, from Maple Ridge.
Fucking A. Let's go.
Small world. So
they're a feeder to the Grizzlies, then I guess, huh?
They feed to the Avalanche.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
awesome.
So they're affiliated with the Avs. So that would be like a great scenario for me if I somehow ended up in with the Eagles. But
yeah, let's go.
So yeah, that's they're and you know, so in hockey,
if you end up there, I'm buying fucking season tickets, dog.
So in hockey, they call like the players, like in my league and stuff, we'll call the AHL the Always Hungry League, because it's like there's a lot of good players in that league that probably have a lot of the abilities NHL guys have, but like they're trying to make it, so they're just dogs, and so
that's why I loved watching it. Yeah,
the Always Hungry League is what we call it. So that's good hockey to watch, and you know, you get to see guys that are fighting for a spot, trying to fight their way.
Why wouldn't they sign you? I would imagine that Fort Wayne is very happy with their jersey sales and everything else with it that has your name on the back of it.
And like, you know what, Fort Wayne is such a great place to play. Like if I'm back in the coast, like obviously that's where I'm going. If I go back to the coast, that's where I'm going. But like just the way I am in my mind, I just have to keep it. You know, like I got to think about what's next. Like that's just how I have to keep my mind. I have to think best case scenario. But like Fort Wayne was so cool. We'd get like 10,000 fans a game, which in our league,
fucking awesome.
Which in our league was really good, and like it was wild, man. Like the place would chant. I would just step on the ice, and the crowd would start chanting "Diamond Hands." It was the craziest thing I've ever experienced. Just touching the ice, and it was like, holy crap. Like I've never had
Stupid question, but where did this name come from, or who coined it?
AJ was kind of a part of it. Like when I was doing the Ice Wars thing, we were like talking nicknames, and like I had nicknames, you know, over the years. Like when I played lacrosse, they'd call me Painsbury, you know, because my last name's Amesbury, like Painsbury, and we were talking, and then Diamond Hands was just one of them. Like I cut guys up. Like I don't know why I cut guys up, but I guess the way my hands are built, I just cut a lot of guys. So that was like, but it was like a double play on words because I literally just sold a NFT to Ezekiel Elliott. Okay. I don't even think I've ever told anybody this on a podcast.
We got to dive into this because I don't even know what an NFT is. Yeah. I'm totally lost in that world.
So I don't even know, like Ezekiel Elliott probably doesn't even know who I am, but
the football player?
Yeah. Okay. He knows he bought this NFT for sure. So there's an NFT called Mintonians, they were called. And I got this thing, you know, I don't really want to talk numbers. You can find it online, but I basically got this thing for a couple $100 and I sold it to Ezekiel Elliott. Like it was like opening the Babe Ruth. Yeah. So I got the Snoop Dogg Diamond Mintonian. It was like one of the best ones. I don't know if you can find it. It might come up on the homepage, honestly.
So it's a piece of art, right? But it's digital art?
Yeah, but the thing is like if you own this, you essentially own a part of their business. So like, you know,
so it's like a stock then? Or?
Yeah, exactly. It's just a representation. That's the Snoop Dogg right there. See that one? So that's the one I
you-
got. He has a
Nice.
blunt in his mouth. So I literally got this thing, and it
Oh,
was
that
like,
Joker one's pretty sick.
yeah, these are all like the diamond ones. So these are all the top ones. If you get one, there's 10 diamond Mintonians out of 8,800 of that they made. So I end up
shit.
opening like the Babe Ruth of these things. I end up getting like the best one somehow. And so I'm like, all right. And then I get a crazy offer from Ezekiel Elliott. He's like, I'm going to wire you the money through like the guy who put it on. It's like, hey, Ezekiel Elliott wants this. And then they like post it all over online. They're like, NFT sold for the most in Mintonians out of all the Mintonians to
Oh, no
Ezekiel
shit,
Elliott.
dude.
So
That's
it's all
awesome.
online. But yeah, so when this happened, like, you know, the diamond hands thing. So it was kind of also a joke from some of my buddies that called me, oh, diamond hands. They didn't know anything about crypto, but like, man, what the hell? This guy just sold his NFT, whatever that is. And
Yeah.
so it kind of all worked together at the same, it was right around the same time as Ice Wars.
Meant to be.
And so it all kind of happened. And then the diamond hands thing just kind of blew up with Ice Wars. And now it's like, I don't even think the announcer for my team last year called me by my name once. He's like, diamond hands with the puck.
Yeah.
Like, hey, my mom's calling me. Can you tell him to call you Amesbury?
Right.
Like, it's nice when they call you by your name.
What do your parents think of all this? Have they been supportive in the fighting side of stuff?
My parents are so like old school in certain ways, like of like the beginning of it when I'm like, hey, I'm gonna do this. They're like, you're nuts. Like, you got everything going here. Like, you're doing good. Like, what do you create? You're gonna go, okay. First of all, you're gonna move to the States. You're gonna play hockey for whatever. God knows what money you're making. Like,
Right.
So they were very like, they're just more conservative than me, right? Like, I'm kind of like, hey, mom, I'm gonna swing for the fence. This is what I'm gonna do. So they were like a little hesitant, I think, at the start, but I think now they're seeing what I'm doing. And my dad, especially, once he starts seeing success in hockey, you know, when I went to the ECHL this year, my dad was like, I could tell my dad was really proud. Pretty old school in a sense where he's like, maybe not, he might not tell me directly, like, hey, like, yeah, he does sometimes, but he's just like, I know my dad, you know, and it feels good. Like, one of the telltale signs of like, I know my dad's proud of what I'm doing hockey wise.
He's probably not telling your mom how proud he actually is.
No.
Right?
and it's funny because like, I've
Not
never,
to bring that up. Shout out to dad and moms. I don't want to be on their bad side.
So
We've got a good son here,
the funny thing is, like, I don't really tell anybody this. It's the telltale sign. The way I always know my dad's like pumped on what I'm doing hockey wise. He'll start going to the junior hockey games in town again.
Yeah.
That's how I know. He's like, oh, I was at the Flames game. The team that I used to play was at the Flames game again. I'm like, now I know my dad's like pumped on what I'm doing. He's
awesome.
like showing up back at the junior games, and you know, I put my parents through everything. I've done the worst of the worst. I've had them just be like, oh my God, what are you doing? Like, I've done the bad stuff, and so all the corrections that I've made now and where I'm at now in life, I think a lot of the people that see me go through the gutter and see me do like the self-sabotage stuff, I think that's why I have a lot of support where I'm at now, because they're like, oh my God, like, if I can turn it around, and anybody can. And that's kind of what my whole journey is about right now, is especially people in my hometown that have seen me go through the darkest times, and like where they probably wouldn't even have recognized me when they seen me, and of who I was portraying on my, you know what I mean? Knowing like, this isn't who you are. And now I'm able to do this and kind of go
What
through
was
this.
kind of the awakening point to, because I always think that this is good to share, because people all over the world, no matter whether you live in a rich community, a poor community, you're always battling yourself, right? And I always find it encouraging, these stories of how people have gone down a wrong path and maybe pulled themselves out, whether it was whatever, you know, like there's so many things. There's so many fucking speed bumps and traps and fucking all kinds of shit that you can find yourself in out there.
Yeah.
So what was kind of the wake up call for you?
Honestly, like I did a lot of like, I got into just like the self-healing thing and like trying to do anything. Like, I was desperate to like get connected and find myself. It always felt good to help people. It always did, but I was so out of tune. I was so like off, like who I really was deep down inside, just like through just like the depression of not having the game of hockey anymore, and just like losing my dream of like, I was playing pro hockey, now I wasn't anymore. And everybody always used to talk about, oh, look, wow, you're doing it, you're playing pro. And then once all that was gone, it was like, who am I? And so when I went through all this, and
I think a lot of guys face this. It's
Yes.
like an identity crisis.
yes,
a little
exactly.
bit,
And
right?
you're in a world where there's a million options on what to do next. And you don't have the security blanket of the boys around you, like the team.
God, the locker room is so much fun, man. Like,
Yeah.
I've been invited into a couple locker rooms. I've seen way too many dicks than I wanted to see, but like, it's just fun, man.
Yeah.
Like that is like some of the fun, like being in the locker room with the boys
After the
like,
game, just sometimes you just sit there in your gear. You're not even worried about getting undressed because you're like, man, I'm just loving this.
Yeah, just hanging out, shooting the shit. It's fucking cool, man.
Yeah. So like for me, like, you know, when I found out I was having my first child was like the big time when I was like, okay, I need to figure my shit out. Like immediately. Like it was like almost the day that I found out. It was like, okay, because I wasn't ready, you know, and I wasn't in a place where I should have been. And I was like, okay, well, what now? Because I got to figure some shit out, and there's some moves I got to make, and there's some changes I got to make.
It molded me into him. It changed my life.
Yeah.
That's for damn sure.
Yeah. And it was quick. So, you know, and I kind of just had to remove myself from some situations. There's some people I loved that were around me that I had to step away from. Nothing against them. I still love them. But it was like, hey, I got to just peel the Band-Aid here and separate and start fresh. And that was a big part of it. And then the journey really started on like finding myself. I went through, the Parkers helped me a lot in some of my darkest times. I got some really good advice from them on, you know, things I could do. And then I really got into like, I started doing like ceremony work, like traditional ceremony work with like plant medicines. And I did ayahuasca, I did mushroom ceremonies. And as crazy as that might sound to somebody who hasn't done it or that doesn't have an understanding of it, it really put some things in front of me that I was avoiding. And it kind of just made me deal with them. And then it got me in alignment. And it basically it made me find what my true priorities in life were, and that happiness isn't going and getting all these things. It's like happiness is already here. It's already within me. I just got to be present and have my family around. And that's really what it was. And I was like, holy crap, I've been doing this wrong all these years. And I feel like I just got shooken up enough from some ceremony work. And then I started really getting in tune with myself and trying to do what was right and what felt good. Like when you help somebody, like it's, I mean, everybody knows how good it feels to help someone, whether it's just crossing some lady across the street. You know, I remember I walked this lady across the street in New York, like New York City, like, I don't know. It's just like people don't really help each other there because there's just so many people, and it's nothing.
I've tried to help people there and got back.
Yeah. And they'll be like, fuck you, fuck off.
Hey, fuck off, pal.
I know. Yeah. So like, okay, so nothing against New York City, but it's just, there's so many people, everybody's kind of disconnected in that sense. And I remember walking this lady across the street. She was a little old lady, like, she was like overwhelmed trying to get across the street. And I held her hand and walked her across the street. And she just seemed so like confused. She's like, that was so nice. Like, what? And she was just looking at me like I was like an alien or something, but it felt good for me. And like, it's not like I did it just to feel good. I was like, it's the right thing to do.
She didn't go home and Google you.
Yeah, exactly. So over the years, that's kind of was the big thing. And that was kind of my motivation was like, I've had all these people see me so disconnected and doing honestly bad things that were out of alignment. I wasn't helping people around me. I was maybe making people's lives worse. I was just desperate to just, you know, make money and just, I was out of alignment. And then now I'm like, I have an opportunity, especially the people that seen me at that time, to really show people what you can do with a little bit of faith, some hard work, and just, you know, passion, you know? And so that's where I'm at now. I'm like, man, I just want to, and I'm like happy every day. I'm like, I got my family, and like, I still have demons. I still have things that I go through and like stuff. There's some stuff in my life that definitely isn't as good as I wish it was. But
I don't think anybody's ever going to achieve that ultimate like happiness, right?
Exactly.
Like, I don't think it's not to shoot everybody's hopes and dreams down, but I think that's what makes life visceral, is having some adversity to face, man. Like, if everything was just easy, like, it's just, life sucks then.
Yeah.
You know?
And you know, it's like one of the sayings, you can't have good without evil, you know? And like, I'm honestly at this point in my life where I start to think about like that, hearing that, or like, you can't have good without bad, any of that. It almost makes me and my heart feel truly there isn't bad people out there. Like, there's disconnected people, but like in their hearts, like they're, you know, it's, I'm in this weird time.
I know people that have been to prison for murder.
Yeah.
And they're people that I would trust with my life. And even my kids, I hate to say that, but some of my friends that were like caught up at a young age in the South LA Crips or like whatever it was are some of the most genuine, like heartfelt, like good people that would help me in a heartbeat, man. It's crazy.
Yeah. And it's kind of, that's what it was for me too. Like I went through the darkest times on that side, but I got this realization going through that. And I started to see like, there's good people on the bad side. Right. And then as my journey happened, I felt like I see more and more people coming out of that side and correcting themselves. And I'm like, oh, and I noticed the people that go through the darkness, like I talked about earlier, there's a lot of people that kind of just, they ride the baseline. They don't get too crazy. They don't, they just want to stay comfortable. But I feel like the people that really dipped, they'll see even higher peaks. Cause it's like, as far as you come down, you go up. Like everything ebbs and flows evenly. So the way I look at it, it's like, say suffering. Okay. That means I can win as much as I suffered, kind of. So it's like, I love seeing people like that suffered and went through dark times, and then they correct themselves. And I'm like, man, why is everybody's like, holy crap, this guy's just winning. It's like all he's doing is winning. It's like, well, yeah, you didn't see him when he was, in the depths of hell.
Nobody notices that. Nobody cares. They only care when you're winning, right? Yeah. Like so, it's wild. Yeah.
So I kind of learned a lot, through my journey. And right now I'm just at a point now where I just want to just motivate people. That's why I share my story. And it's funny because you watch what I do on the ice. People, like, there's so many people that don't know me. Like, oh my God, this guy's a madman. And then they probably get confused because I like do shit in the community for some like child abuse nonprofit or something. They're like, what? They're probably, I guarantee some people are so confused because they're like, this guy's some bad dude on the ice. And it's like, well, that's my role. That's who I have to be on the ice. But
I think people have that misconception with fighters. Like, and there's some of my favorite people to have in here, like yourself included, right? Because you guys are genuine and care about life. It's just different, man. It's like, I don't know how to explain it. Like you get somebody that faces adversity every day, or it finds themselves in conflict at a high level.
Yes.
Right? At a professional level. And they're some of the most like open people you'll sit down and talk with, genuine, and you can actually like your energy is great, dude. Like,
thank you, I appreciate it.
From the moment you walked in, I was like, we're gonna have fucking fun, dude. Like I can tell. Like I've done, this is 169.
Wow.
Like so
69.
69, let's go. And I've probably done with other podcasts that I've done and other shit going on, I've probably somewhere in the tune of 200 now.
Wow.
I hope it's 10,000 someday, but what I've learned in that amount of time and stuff, but like you can just tell, like one of the things that I love most about this is just reading other people's energy and having a true human connection where there's no distractions, right? Like it's so fucking cool, and learning somebody else's perspective. So on that note, I got to ask, cause I'm super intrigued, and I've done some plant medicine stuff, but it was a long time ago, and it was kind of more of like not the way I wanted to experience, or the way I feel like now that it's not popular, but I think there's a lot of people, my friends specifically, that are from the special operations community or have had some sort of brain trauma or former football players or whatever it is, right? They're turning to kind of this alternative plant medicine because these guys have had so much head trauma and so many stuff happen to them. Like even if they weren't injured in combat or something, right? Just from breaching doors every day, it's like getting in a hockey fight every day.
Yeah, the PTSD and like
you're gonna have some sort of trauma, right? Like so, but they're finding massive success mentally, cognitively, health-wise, in doing these journeys and actually going to like a shaman and doing it the right way, like underneath, the supervision of a doctor or getting the IVs or whatever you need to have beforehand. And then it's kind of a holistic approach where it's like diet included and everything, right? Like, so you go to like these immersions and, to get the most out of that experience. And I guess mine was a bit more recreational than I wanted it to be, even though I had kind of the same purpose in mind. And it was totally eye-opening, but like some of the most, and it's weird, like I've had hallucinations not even really being under the influence of anything. You can do it in certain situations. Like those sleep, not deprivation. Why am I drawing a blank?
Sleep deprivation
tanks.
Oh yeah.
Have you ever done one of those?
No, I haven't, but I've definitely had
they're
some
fucking dope.
Pretty immersive and crazy experiences without any sort of help, as far as plant medicines or anything like that. So I've gone pretty deep just through breath work and meditation.
Oh yeah, breath work can get you fucked up too. Yeah.
Darkness for me, like if I'm in a really dark room and I'm trying to go deep, I can have some pretty crazy experiences without any plant medicines. But I think what you were saying, like I think everybody's first kind of dabble and first dip in is always like kind of recreational side, like and it's you can still get great things out of it. But I think having a shaman or having professionals around you, just holding space, creating like clear channels for you to connect.
And not only, I mean, you're putting yourself in the most vulnerable situation.
Yes.
So you want to make sure that it's decent people that are around you, right? Because it's a fucking roller coaster of emotion, right?
And it's not, it's not all sunshine and rainbows by any means, because I think like my understanding when I did my like most profound ayahuasca journey, like I was driving up to go there and I just remember the whole drive up, I was so excited. I'm thinking like, this is going to be the most awesome experience. I thought like it was going to be sunshine and rainbows. I had no idea what it was going to be like. I hadn't worked with ayahuasca before. I did all the preparation as far as diet. I didn't drink any coffee. I didn't smoke any weed.
Did you do a fast or like most people fast, I think, right?
Oh yeah, I did a fast. Like I'm talking for a month prior, I ate everything the shaman told me for a month prior. No coffee, no stimulants of any sort. Like I was clean as a whistle.
Because it starts to counteract it or something, right?
Like it kind of, apparently even coffee can like lower your, you won't get as much of a experience and stuff. And I think honestly, like it might sound crazy to some people, like it's just like, however, like how committed are you to this? And then that's how much the medicine is going to be willing to give you. It's like, if you're just half-assing it, you're just showing up for the ceremony, is the medicine really going to want to like help? Like, I don't know.
That's what's so crazy about it, because that's the rule to life.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Like if you don't put any effort into your kids or teaching them or lead by example, then what do you think they're going to turn out to be?
You got to show your commitment.
Fucking everything, man.
Exactly. So a little bit about my experience and I've definitely never talked about this on a podcast. But
if you're not comfortable sharing it, don't feel like you have to.
I am, because I think it could help people get some insight. So
we can turn the microphones off, but I want to hear this shit.
So basically on the way up, I was talking and I was saying, I'm ready for this. Like I'm excited for this. It's going to be great. I was like, I want double. The whole drive up, I'm saying, I want double the medicine. I want a double dose. Like I'm ready for this. Like I've never done ayahuasca. I think I know my shit. Like I've done other ceremonies. This is
the point to having a shaman too, right?
Yeah. And you're just expecting it to be just sunshine and rainbows. I'm like, I'm going to talk to God. Like, that's what I think it's just going to be the greatest thing ever. And it was the greatest thing ever, but it wasn't what I expected. So then we get to the ceremony and we're all sitting there and I get called up. I'm the first to take the medicine. This is, hours after we get there and start doing breath work and raising our vibration, getting yourself in a really good mind state, a really good vibration before you take the medicine, to shaking out any sort of anger or negative emotions. Cause you want to be, just like anything, right? Like you want to be in a good, if you're doing something like that, last thing you want to be is, you don't want to be angry and eat a handful of mushrooms. Cause
I think that's like going into anything. Like I take a minute to reset my mindset before I walk in the door in the house with my family, right? Like don't just rush in there. Like take the 5 or 10 minutes to go for a run or a walk or whatever. You're going to come home in such a better state. I have rituals that I do before I do a podcast.
That's amazing.
Unfortunately, I didn't get to do them today, which now I'm a total fucking
I feel like we did it together, because I kind of came in the same, but I feel like we did it together.
Yeah, man. You got to be in the right headspace, man, to experience life, I think.
Yeah. So then I get called up to do my medicine first, and this is just crazy, because the whole drive up, I'm saying, I want double. And then I sit down first, and the shaman looks at me, this woman, and she's amazing. Like I would love to do ceremony work with her again. She even told me when she first talked to me on the phone, she's like, you need to work with feminine energy more. She's like, I can tell you're very like masculine and you need to tap into the feminine side a little bit.
What gave it away? Was it the diamond hands?
Well, it's funny because she knew nothing about me. She just talked to me on the phone. She said, this is what I'm feeling. She's like, I feel like you need to work with the feminine side a little bit more. So I sit down beside her and she pulls out the medicine. She goes, she kind of looks at me. She says, Mother Ayahuasca tells me you need double. And I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, I'm like, right away, I'm like, holy shit. Like, you know, like
No
if I wasn't
way.
sold that there's
So you were thinking this the whole way
the whole
up,
drive up. I'm
not under the
saying it out
influence
loud.
at
No,
all.
I was
Yeah.
saying it out loud in the drive up. And she said, the second that you commit to doing this ceremony, the ayahuasca is going to start working with you in strange ways. And there was already weird things happening to me for months prior. And so I get there.
So,
and
like, what kind of weird things? Like dreams? Or
yeah,
like
yeah,
any
like,
sort of like,
yeah,
okay.
sort of really crazy. And I don't know if it was just my subconscious knowing I was going into a pretty.
So I don't want to interrupt, but like my experience and what I was getting at, and you know, it's not like acid and I've never taken acid, so I don't really know, but I know that acid can hit you later in life if you've done doses and like you do too hard of a workout. Next thing you know, you're on the fucking Grateful Dead train or some shit, right?
Open some portals.
But I've definitely experienced that when I'm fatigued and tired, like especially backcountry hunting and sleeping under the stars and stuff like that. It's weird, dude. I've had like a little ayahuasca journey that happened for like a split second, and it was totally eye-opening and refreshing, and it like put me in my place. Like,
and I think something about that is like that right there is, to me, shows me that there is more. Like it's not just, we're not just eating a psychedelic and going on a journey. Like this is opening a connection it's already there in us. It's, you know what I mean? There's something already there. It's just kind of helping you. Just kind of helping you get there, because I've gotten there without, you know, since then, you know, and other people do and whatnot.
so you've had post experiences like that as well.
Yeah, through like meditation and like trying to get there and stuff. But now I find, you know, a lot of people say the same, like you can kind of find that experience. If I was to do like, you know, like what you were talking about.
Try the sleep deprivation tank, man, and like go for like a full session. Like go for.
I actually have you're talking about like the float tanks?
Float tanks.
Oh,
that's
yeah,
what I'm
those
thinking.
are unreal. Oh,
LA's got the best ones.
if I go in a
The
float tank,
lab,
the second that door closes, I'm launching through space, dude. Like
it's the weightlessness of your body. There's nothing more relaxing. Like if I could do one once a week, shit, if I had my own, I might do it daily.
Yes.
There is
definitely.
there's no better way to relax because you're completely weightless. It's not
takes
like
all your
laying in a
senses away.
bed.
Like there's no senses.
Yeah.
Like, it's
So
dark.
it's dark, it's quiet. Like you have to go into it with that mindset is I'm truly going to relax. Right. But I don't think what people that are listening to this that have never even heard of this. So basically what it is it's a pod or a capsule that you go into or a room, and it's a salt bath. So you come out of it with your skin feels fucking amazing. But it's like, I think it might be 1,500 pounds of salt that they put in to make it to where there's a science behind it, a water salt mixture, and then your weight. And it basically creates a zero balance buoyancy. So you have zero gravity.
Yeah. You just float.
So every one of your muscles, if you truly let go and relax, and you can get, you know, sometimes I have a weird thing with water, like touching my face for a little bit. But
when you feel like you're going to drown.
For the first like minute or so, it kind of goes away, you know. But yeah, after that, it's just like you come out of that like you've gotten 8 hours of sleep, dude.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
You don't really know at first when you get in there. Like my first time doing it, I kind of didn't know what way it was up, what way it was down.
Yeah, no.
Because like the water is the same temperature as the room. You can't even really feel what is in the water and what's out of the water.
Well, the water temperature is the same temperature as your body, so you're not even experiencing hot or cold, dude.
Crazy.
It's wild.
Yeah. So those are. I would love to have one of those in my house.
You want to know what's wild about this too? Because I've done a deep dive on it, and this might sound crazy, but some people that are heavily into this compare it to being in a womb.
Yeah.
Like when you're a child, because you're just like cognitively not there. So my daughter was born premature. And one of the things that they used to do, or the nurses would have me do when we were in the NICU, which is the newborn intensive like care, right? So there's some babies in there. My daughter had it really well. And this is like perspective, man. There were some kids in there that were like
rough shape.
Dude, the size of this stone. You know what I mean? And on ventilators and all kinds of, like, their lungs hadn't developed. And like, dude, it's amazing that these nurses and stuff can nurse, and doctors can nurse these babies into like a normal kid. Mine, we kind of knew it was coming. But one of the things that they used to have me do, because that's a whole nother story in itself, is they would have me take my shirt off and go, they would call it skin to skin.
Yeah.
And your body temperature matches your kids when they're at a certain age like that. So you can automatically put them at the same temperature. So as long as you're healthy and you're 98, and they would take my temperature before, because the last thing you want to do is walk in and
Put them
make you
off
sick.
Yeah.
Like you had to do a full doctor scrub down, like nurses watching you, like wash your hands. But anyways, you would put her on her chest, and that was like really good for her because it's radiant heat. She's not under like incubation, and it's the easiest way for them to like relax too, right? Because they're being actually held. So the sleep deprivation tank is kind of like a similar type thing. It's kind of like that mother nurturing, like, I don't know, dude. It's fucking
crazy.
weird,
I'm sure it does something to like connect us back into
It's fucking weird.
Yeah. So basically what happened was when I went through, I got my medicine, I go back, and like I said, I thought it was going to be sunshine and rainbows. I basically started going down some like dark places, like immediately. Like it was, and the cool part is about having a shaman, and they have helpers, they call them angels. There's like 5 girls around that they call angels. And I just remember like every time I'd close my eyes, I was like blasting off into some scary places I didn't feel comfortable going. And then I could see, I looked over, I kept opening my eyes. Like I had like a sleep mask on, and I would take it off because it would just become too much for me. And I had like a crystal for each of my kids at the time in each hand. And I would just think about my kids, like, cause I was just too scared to go down the road that the medicine was taking me down. And then I seen the shaman looked at me and looked over at one of her helpers. And I guess I didn't know this till the next day, but she came behind me and started doing like Reiki and kind of like sending me good energy. And I just felt the power to just go in. I'm like, let this medicine take me wherever it's going to take me. And it took me down like a really scary place. And it started putting things that I had buried in the back of my mind right in front of me, like kind of right in front of me where I had to deal with it. She taught us how to handle this. If this happened, she said, if these things are in your face, like dark things that you've been trying to avoid, it's going to come up right in front of you. Say, I love you. Thank you. You served me. Now I'm letting you go. I did this for an hour. And I swear every dark thing that came up, all these past experiences, all these things that I had wronged people, and they were gone forever. Gone forever. I spent an hour.
Just a catalog.
I spent an hour going through one thing after another and letting it go and thanking it. And it was like, and then after I got through that, I shot through a straight beam of white light, and I was having the most blissful experiences, talking to loved ones and going through old memories and just rewiring myself. And it was one of the most profound, life-changing experiences of my life. And it was a big reason of why I'm able to be where I am today and be grateful for the worst day, you know?
Yeah.
So it's, without, going to, that was kind of a little sliver of how my journey went. And that was a big reason of why.
Some of it is hard to explain. I can't explain. When I have to, it's like, it was kind of like this, it was kind of like that. Like that's how.
That's the thing. Like if a lot of people hear it and they'll be like, that guy was just tripping, right. But it's like, man, when you go through it, you start to realize like what it really is. And like what, the connection you can gain from it is just on another level, for me anyways. Maybe it was just an experience for me, but
that's awesome, man.
Now I have this cool connection, and everything I'm doing now, I'm able to just kind of like be grateful and realize, there's a break.
That's half the battle, man, is mindset. So even if you gain that out of it, whether you're going to the next dimension or the spirit world or you're talking to God or whatever is happening, if it puts you in a positive headspace to go and deal with people every day,
exactly,
and be a positive person, then what's bad about it? You know what I mean? Whether you believe in what you experienced or not. I mean, if it puts you in and not you personally, I'm talking about listeners, like, that guy's just tripping. Like, just fucking flush that all out of your mind.
If it works, it works. Yeah. And like, that's the thing for me. It was like this, whatever it was, it put me into this, like I drove home from this experience and I was just like, and I would, my woman was not like, she's not like into that stuff. She was kind of like freaking out when she picked me up. She's like, are you okay? And I'm like, I got happiness is here. Like it's wherever my family, like we're all like, it's inside. Like I just had this like newfound light inside of me. I've I feel like every day since I've been smiling. Like the worst situation in the world, I'm grateful for because I know there's a growth within it, and there's a reason it's happening.
Has that helped you? How long ago did you do this, and has it helped you in your sports like performance?
Oh yeah, this was probably like 4 years ago, like before Ice Wars and stuff like that, and like it was like a big shift for me. Maybe a little bit more, maybe 5 years ago now.
Okay.
And honestly, the biggest thing that it did for me, obviously the gratitude.
I mean, that's
thing.
about the time you started your resurgence into hockey and everything, right?
Yes, totally. And so that's like, it's hard for me to explain to a lot of people.
So prior to that, were you just anti-hockey, or because a lot of guys
I was so depressed about how it ended. I had no gratitude about how it ended, and it wasn't my cards. I just was in a bad place.
Did you choose for it to end, or was
not
it?
Really? No,
okay.
It was like I had some shit to deal with. I got in some trouble.
That's even harder, man.
Yeah, and it was just taken. It was almost like it was taken from me. But then when I went through this experience, I realized it was a gift. It was the greatest gift I ever had, because of look at where I ended up. Look at what I learned. Look at my family now. And so now, like I look back at it, like there's no bitterness at all. Whereas like those dark years of my life, I was so bitter. I was like, they took it from me. Like I was blaming everyone else, and it wasn't for me. It was to me. Everything happened to me. Now I'm like, no, I'm grateful. There's a million things to be grateful for. Number one, look at all those years I wasn't maybe getting hit or whatever it was. There's a million reasons
to bring it back full circle from the very beginning of this conversation, we were talking about how old you were and
how I'm still fresh. Yeah, exactly. So now I have this newfound gratitude, and I'm at the point now where I'll be sitting at the back of the bus playing cards with some of the guys, and I'll just stop the conversation. Some guys will be on their phone. I'm like, boys, like just be present for this, because like when you don't have it, like this is gonna be not even the stuff on the bench or in the dressing room as much as like these are special moments. I've said that to some of the guys before, and I'm so present now during all the moments of on the ice. In the dressing room, the experiences of the team going out after, or riding the bus, or just being with my family, like
in the moment.
Yeah, of course not all the time. I'm not perfect by any means, but it's just I have this newfound gratitude in life, and this one experience was really the biggest turning point for me ever. Where whatever it was, wherever I went and whatever I experienced, it might not be real to someone, but to me, it was real to me, because the gratitude I got from it will take me for the rest of my life. No matter what card gets dealt to me, I'll be so grateful, because I know that it's for me. It's not to me.
That's badass, brother. I'm happy for you, man. Like,
I appreciate it.
I love hearing these stories. That's why I wanted to go down that path. And dude, we are cranking on time here. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up.
Yes.
On this. We've been at it like 2 hours already,
nice,
dude.
good.
So, but the great thing about this is I love to have recurring guests. I don't ask anybody just to come on. I want them to come on. Dude, I'd love to have you once a year, twice a year, whatever it turns out. Yeah. Hopefully you're playing for the Eagles at some point or the Avalanche. Fucking even better, dude. Let's go, Avs. Or whatever, dude. I'd love to come out and watch you play some hockey.
Yeah.
Definitely go check out your fight. Real quick before we jump off, let's dive into what you got coming up. And then obviously you got a ton of stuff to like. You got Diamond Hands merch. You got the podcast. You got NFTs. You got all kinds of crazy shit, dude. So let's get it. There's no rush. So
obviously me and AJ Galante, we got the Talking Trash podcast. That's like kind of our thing. It's on YouTube, Spotify, you name it. All the platforms.
It's good stuff. Your co-host is fucking good too, dude. I was like, damn.
And if you guys don't know who AJ Galante is, on Netflix, there's a documentary. It's Untold Crime and Penalties, and it's a documentary about AJ. His father bought him a pro hockey team when he was 17, made him the GM. He was also a wrestling fan, so he's like, screw it, I'm going to sign every tough guy I can find. And he made like the ultimate tough guy
like
team.
The WWE fan.
The Danbury Trashers. So
awesome.
So that kind of works into our podcast, and then so that's kind of our thing. YouTube and all the channels, and then obviously I'm pretty, Instagram's kind of my main path. Amesbury is my handle, and
Great follow.
I post tons of stuff on there. I try and be pretty fun and I like to play the way that I want to watch. So I play a tough game, and I post lots of mic'd up stuff, and it's fun to do that. And then I got my fight coming up on July 12th. That's boxing. I got merch on my merch store. You can find my links in my bios. Yeah, man, it's going to be a fun summer. I probably have one fight for sure this summer, maybe two, and then I'll be back to hockey season come September, October.
Anything scheduled in Denver specifically?
Not yet, but
well, fuck. If I got time, maybe I'll fly out to Nashville, dude. I'll get to show you some Broadway.
Have a pretty good crew out there. We're trying to get Bo out there.
Oh, fuck yeah, let's go
and have a big little celebration out there. And, I'm dedicating my fight to Bo too.
Are you?
So I think a couple days after the fight is Bo's like alive day. Like that's the day that he went through all his stuff. So
what an amazing human, huh?
Yo, Bo is the best. Yes.
And just family. I mean, Landon's fucking
Landon too
for a 16-year-old kid.
Oh yeah,
how much has he got his shit together?
Yes,
dude? Like
I know.
fucking awesome.
A lot more than I did. That's for sure. So yeah, I'm gonna be dedicating my fight to Bo, which I'm stoked on. And I appreciate all the
you
support.
got to skate with him the other day, right?
Yeah.
Him and his sled.
I skated with him twice when he was down here.
That's fucking awesome, man.
Yeah, I'm actually hanging out. I got his sleds in my garage, so for when he comes back, he's got no excuses. I got a sled.
That's awesome.
Like just find me online and everything. You can find everything through my Instagram and my links and stuff on my bio.
And what's the YouTube channel again?
It's DB Trashers at DB Trashers.
Okay, sick. Yeah, give this a follow.
And I mean, if you search me on YouTube,
we'll put live links in the show notes too.
Awesome.
So if you're listening to this right now and you're on Spotify or Apple or you're on YouTube, there'll be live links in the show description or show notes where you can find the stuff. Hell yeah, let's go.
Yeah. So,
and then what's the Instagram handle again?
Ames, AMES, number 2, Bury, BURY.
Definitely give that a follow, man. It's good shit. There's a lot of mic'd up stuff. But yeah, dude, I'm wishing you success. I really enjoyed getting to know you today, brother.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Thank you so much for making the drive up. And yeah, let's do this again, man.
100%. Right. I appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to the Mountainside Podcast. If you haven't had a chance to do this already, please take a moment, follow, like, subscribe, or rate on whatever platform you catch the Mountainside Podcast at. If you'd like some more information on upcoming episodes, safety tips, access to all of our affiliates, and all the badass discounts that we get here at the Mountainside Podcast, check out themountainsidepodcast.com.